All right, team, welcome back. 2 more boot camps left today and Thursday. Has this been helpful for everybody so far? Good. Today we're going to get into so the MLS. We're going to I'm going to ask a question here in a second, but we're going to focus on the MLS today, focusing on setting properties, setting up showings. And if you guys are beyond the basics on that, I may just go into some deeper parts or some tips and tricks, if you will. My goal is going to be to maybe spend no more than an hour on MLS and showing time, and then take a break, and then come back for basically almost 2 hours of CMA, because I don't even know if 2 hours is even going to be enough. I probably need like 20 hours or more. Yeah, I'm going to do my best with the time we have. I think that's pretty much the most important part of today. I do have a question before I get going, so it's to you three. Who's going to bold? You're going to bold?
Not sure.
Not sure yet?
Yes, sir.
Not sure. The dates are, here, I'm gonna give this to you, so while I'm going, take a look at the date, take a look at your calendar. Here are the dates. They fall on Thursday from 9 to 2:30. Here's what I'm gonna say to you guys. I mean, you've heard it, and I don't wanna beat this up here, but the reality is this. Mindset is gonna be the biggest challenge right now for all of us. And Bold focuses 90% of it on mindset, 10% on skills. When I go back, and it's funny because I was doing like a role play session with Jay. I don't know if you guys know Jay. And you know, as I'm going through it, I'm realizing, holy crap, I've been using Bold presentations because I learned it in year 1 for me in 2017, and they've stuck with me ever since. I just do Bold listing presentations. So what I'll tell you is that there's a lot on the skill side, there's a lot of things you will get out of it, but I think the most important part right now is the environment, being around other people that are in the business, having accountability, because here's the reality, you're setting yourself up for 2024 right now, taking Bold. So keep that in mind. If you're not registered yet, let's get you in there. First step is free. And then we can discuss if money is an issue, we can find a way, we can find a win-win for you that's going to work to get you into the room. I think the most important thing is getting you in the room, and we'll figure out financially how to make that happen. So any concerns, whether you're watching online right now or in the room, let me know after class. Catherine Horn, or Kimberly Horn, sorry, not Catherine Horn is her name. So here's the sign up form. That way you have the dates as well.
Yeah, thank you.
And let's get it rolling. I don't want to lose too much time. So real fast, kind of give me an idea, everyone's level here of like, how comfortable are you in MLS? Scale of 1 to 10. 10 is you're amazing and you can probably teach me. And I don't know it all, but are you at a 10? Are you at a 5? Like, where are you guys? So I can know where to kind of. About a 7? Okay. You feel comfortable setting, like somebody sets you up, you know, you do a buyer consultation and they have unique criteria. You're pretty good on narrowing down those criteria.
Yeah, I mean, they like nature.
Okay. Cool.
Because I used it, but then when I joined the board, I have to do class. So
Gotcha.
But again.
Okay. All right. So you're there. How about you guys? How about you? Pretty good.
I could always use more.
Refresher. Okay. Still started on. Sorry. Okay.
Something funny happened to me, and I had to call neighbor today with the MLS. I wanted to change the status from to pending, right? And when I was choosing to fill in the seller agent information, a message would come up like failed or whatever, but that person was listed, and it didn't let me do it, and so I called neighbor, and all of a sudden she was able to do it this morning, like, and I'm like, why do those things happen? Is it something that I set up wrong?
I have no idea. I'd have to literally look at it with you. Here's what I tend to find when I'm looking for an agent in the system and I can't find them. Usually it's the spelling of their name. Usually it's either the spelling or whatever they've introduced as is not their name in the system. Yeah, so sometimes that is sometimes the issue that comes up. So all right, so let's get into it. Let's go into, so first off, everybody knows how to log into this part, or at least the new system, right? So we know on here, we now get to go into MLS or showing time. Real quick, I just want to, so everybody here know how to set up a showing and multiple showings in the showing part? Is that anything I'm saying foreign to you? Okay, let's look. So let's do that. So I was gonna go into showing time and show you something in there, and I probably still will. But what I really wanted to show you in this more from the listing perspective, like how to make sure that when you put a listing live in the market, you also have to go in and set up a showing time profile. Let's just do it right now because I can't get off track. Let's just go into showing time first. For a moment, we're just going to pretend that we're actually in the MLS back and forth. We're prepping a listing in the MLS, like inputting it. So we have a safe draft in the MLS. So we haven't finished fully putting the MLS listing live, but we're inputting all the information and we're planning to go live on Friday. That's the scenario we're going to pretend. When we log in here, a couple things. So the first thing I wanted to show you is how do we get that listing in there so that other agents can start actually scheduling showings via showing time. So the way that works is you have to go to listings on your left-hand side dashboard. You're going to go to listings, and in here you have my listings. So you can see here that so there's 2 active listings right now. You'll see the MLS ID number, listing agent, the owner, because in both of these scenarios, they're owner occupied or the owners want to receive the showing notifications. That's why it's showing an owner name. The address, so pretty straightforward stuff. Subdivision, it's active, and what the price point is. If I wanted to go into one of these, so let's say for example, I'm gonna show you both, but let's look at for example, this first one. So in here, it auto-populated the picture from the listing. And if you look at it from top to bottom, what it's going to show you basically your settings for that listing. So it's showing you. Are you allowing appointments to be taken by the appointment center? I just put no. What that means is like, could they call showing time directly? I don't mess with showing time and having them set up showings for me. So I just hit no for that. Do I want to allow showing agents to request appointments online? Yes, of course we want them to be able to show it, schedule it through the MLS. Allow showing agents to request virtual appointments. Yeah, I dropped down and I clicked for in-person and virtual. I don't even know if virtual was even an option. Can you guys close the door for me? I don't even know if virtual was even an option before COVID hit. I think they literally added that option because obviously, if you guys remember during COVID, there was a lot of Zoom showings that were happening. So that's what that's referring to. Then you have some default configuration settings here. So the first thing being what type of appointments is it? So for example, your options are either appointment required, confirm with any. What that means is that if I'm the listing agent and let's say there's going to be 2 homeowners that are also going to be in the profile here, it means that any of them can confirm an appointment, not just the listing agent. So that will be what confirm with any is. Go ahead.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, it depends. I'll go through it and then I'll give you the example with this lady. Appointment required, confirm with all, meaning literally, let's say it was a scenario where there was 2 homeowners. I'll just actually go to this scenario. This scenario is only 1 homeowner and me that obviously are getting these notifications. I don't have it set up with confirm with any or confirm with all. If it was confirm with all, literally I would have to confirm the appointment saying yes when I get the notification. And then so would her, I'm like, messy. I don't like it. I have to wait because what if they don't look at their phone? There's some people that don't look at their phone that often. Then there's a courtesy call. So that means they literally get a phone call or they have to make a phone call. Especially like if I'm owner occupied home, that's what you would use that one for. I'll explain to you what I do with owner occupied homes in a second. Go and show. So if it's a vacant property, literally just set it up as a go and show. This property is not a go and show because there's somebody in it. And then this one says view instructions. I don't even know when you would use this one. So when scheduling online, the showing agent will immediately see any notes provided by the listing agent. The showing agent will not be given a calendar to select an appointment date. So it's just instructions only. I have no idea why somebody would click that. I want clarity. So either I want an appointment to be requested and one of us confirms it or a go and show. The way I set it up, so I have it set up as confirm with any. So whether Ann or me can confirm technically. But I'm going to show you something here in a moment. The next thing I ask you is this a listing agent accompanied showing? Nope. If it was like one of those situations where you had to go to every showing, then you would hit yes. Request feedback. Do you want to have those automated feedback request forms sent out to the agents who show the property? I would hit yes. And then here on the right-hand side, on this drop-down, you'll have some options. So like there's a showing time template. There's like 3 different templates, and then I have this custom one that I kind of created. But the showing time template is completely fine. Is the property occupied? Yes or no? In this case, it is occupied. And then the next sections are context. So by default, you're always going to be the first one there, listing agent. There won't be anyone else. But what will happen is that when you put owner occupied, yes, it's going to ask you, hey, do you want to add the owner into the system? And I do. So then I went ahead, and if I, for whatever reason, didn't give me that option, I would just hit add owner occupied right here. If there was a co-list agent that you wanted involved in that, this is where you would click for that. So if I had a second owner that I needed to add to this, or a roommate came into the scenario, now I needed to add the roommate so that they're aware of what's happening, I can just add their information. It's either add from an existing customer if you already have them in there, rarely do we, or you're going to add new, and then you're just going to fill out the information there, first name, last name, are they an owner? Maybe I hit no. Are they an occupant? Yes. And then the phone, you have to make sure it's a mobile phone, because if not, they won't receive the automated text messages. And then you got to make sure the box is clicked for use for text messages. You don't need a fax, you don't need an email, and then hit save. By the way, just everyone's clear, this is being recorded. So if I got to maintain a certain level of pace today to keep track on pace for everything. So just know you can come back and rewatch this. So notice now I have a couple of options, both for myself and for Ann. Let's just look at myself, for example, first. So can confirm appointments by, and I can confirm the appointments either by text, email, push, I believe is actually like from the app, from the showing time app, or via phone, meaning I got to get a phone call. I don't want to do email. I don't want to do push. I don't want to do phone. I want simplicity. I want to be able to get a text message saying that somebody's requesting an appointment, and it's either yes or no. That's the option I click on. So I leave it as a text message. And that's literally what's going to happen. When there's a showing request, I'll get a text, and it's going to ask me if I want to confirm it. And then I hit yes via text to do that. Now with Ann, I don't want Ann to confirm. All I want for Ann to do is just to know when showings are happening. So Ann and I already came to an agreement that on any showing that comes in, as long as she has a 2-hour notice, which I haven't gotten to that there, but when I get to appointment restrictions, I set it up so there's a lead time. So I'm going to just go down for a second, then I'll come back up. So it says for the appointments, what type of appointments do I want to allow? So do I want to allow inspections and walkthroughs? Yes. Do I want to allow appraisers to make an appointment? Yes. Do I allow real-time availability for broker websites? Have no idea what that is, so I always hit no. I think that's literally trying to, like, in the moment, people can schedule it through like public sites. I've never used that feature. Do I want to do no same-day appointments? Like, so for example, maybe there's like a tenant-occupied property, and they're like, no, we need 24-hour notice. Well, I would then at that point do no same-day appointments. That means they would have to schedule for Tuesday in this case. But what I do is I do lead time, and then I got an agreement from her. Hey, what's the lead? How much time do you need for advance notice? She works from home, and she's very flexible at her job. She's like, 2 hours is fine. So I then put it to 2 hours. So if I went in there right now, 9:18 to make a showing, I wouldn't get a showing time till, what is it, 11:18 plus, essentially, is when the next showing time would become available. When I go back up, though, again, I just want her to be informed of it. So I just do send an FYI, and then it's a text message FYI. That's what's happening there. Any questions up to this point on that?
On the 2-hour window, where would you see that?
If I'm the agent showing, well, here's what's going to happen later. You'll see it when we go to set up a showing on this property from the buyer's agent perspective, and I ask what time. It's not going to let me do it for that 2-hour window. It pushes you out. It's blocked out. You can't even physically hit the time.
Jordas, but my buyer is in the area, and we saw another property, and now she sees your property, wants to go there to see it. Can we do it?
No.
No. So.
Bye. You're a buyer will have.
So sad. Too bad.
Could I? Okay. The answer is no.
Right.
However, could I, if I know my customer's a little flexible, say, hey, there's the person like literally right now in the area. Do you have the ability to get out sooner? And if she says yes, then we say yes. If not, hey, listen, you have to come back. That's it. Don't let anything else get that. It's that simple. Don't overanalyze that.
Yeah.
It's literally that simple.
I've had this situation happen to me, so that's why.
Yeah, it's that simple. If they're really interested in the property, they'll understand that it's occupied and the owner works from home and they need to give some time. That's simple. All right, here, so if I wanted to add unique rules such as, let's say, for example, if I want to add a new, so I notice I have no rules right now. So the only main rule is that somebody has to wait 2 hours, in this case, to make a showing appointment. Real quick, search to some other options before I get down there. It says allow scheduling overlaps. I do allow it. So if you both schedule an appointment at 10 o'clock, enjoy it. You could do yes, but so I have it set up as yes, but it's gonna let the agents know. You can do yes, but don't inform the agents, or do no and make it all specific. Pick your poison. And then the max number of showings that are overlapped if you wanted to prevent that. There's some numbers there you can select from. Now look at that showing rule. So where I've used showing rules are those unique situations where, hey, we can do showings, let's just make it up, Monday through Friday, but only between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. If that's the rule, that's the rule. By the way, the less rules, the better. I hate when there's rules like that set by the sellers because they're really limiting themselves. To Joe's point, if I can only go in the morning or whatever, I'm right there, come back 4 to 8, then it might not end up being the property for me. But that's not for us to argue. I mean, at the end of the day, I tell the sellers up front, be flexible. The more flexible we are, especially that first 30 days, the better. So let's add a showing rule right now. That's going to have a restriction, and the rule is, I don't know, tenant window. I'm just making it up. Tenant window. Tenant at home. Time rule is going to be from, let's say we said 4 p.m. in the scenario, say from 4 to 8. And then this is going to either be a one-time rule or it's going to be a repeating rule that says basically from today when we go live, and I'll just put a future date out. And this rule will be Monday through Friday. So Monday through Friday, showings will only happen between 4 and 8 p.m. I'm not going to hit save right now because I don't want to mess up with this person's actual showing thing. But then I would hit save, and then now, again, when I'm a showing agent, I'm a buyer's agent, I'm on the MLS scheduling showings, it's just going to restrict my ability to make showings outside of those windows. It'll be blocked out. That's simple. Hit cancel because I don't want to save anything. And then down here at the bottom, some real simple things. So don't even know what the secure access enabled is. If that's a different feature, I don't use it. Here I put the gate code. So if there is a gate code, please give instructions to the agent. The last thing you want to do is on a Saturday while you're at a party with your family, somebody wants to go show your home and you forgot to put the gate code. Really frustrating when you do that. Give instructions, bless you, how to get into the property. So in this one, it says the main gate is 1577, building code is 157. How can the agent access the home? I put it on Supra, and then there's a bunch of other options there. I never use any of them other than combination lock or Supra. That's the two boxes I typically would use. You don't have to put the serial number of your box. If you do, it's up to you. I just put where's the Supra located, and that's it. And then are you available at a remote? Are keys available at a remote location? Nope. It's in the Supra. One little tip I would give you guys is if, especially because I'm thinking of different neighborhoods like Golden Gate Estates, for example, when you go out there, we all know the self-service is not the greatest. I know when I'm going to go do showings in Golden Gate Estates that I'm going to go into showing time and showing time, or not showing time, the Super app that you use to open the door and update it so that it's ready to go when I get to that door. If for whatever reason I get out there and I can't get in, guess who gets that call that I can't get in? The listing agent. And now they have to stress, like, I got to do my job, but I'm at a birthday party. What am I going to do? I don't want to tell them good luck. But either way, what if I can't even get out there? So what I've gotten in the habit of doing is that in remote locations and vacant properties, I put also a combo lock, but I put it somewhere else, like on a water hose or something like that. That's not your main access into the home. That's my backup in the case that you didn't update your showing time or your Supra app. That's like my backup, but I don't put it here. I still put that, hey, it's on Supra. I just wanted to give you that little tidbit because after a few calls like that, you're like, I'm tired of this. Enough is enough, right? And then additional showing instructions, the main ones I really think matter are the notes for showing agents. So if you have any specific instructions such as, hey, don't let the dog out, don't let the cat out, whatever instructions you want to give them, this is where you would put it, notes for showing agent. And that way, when they are looking at showing time on their app, they can see what the instructions are that you're giving them. Although I know sometimes we put it in the confidential remarks of MLS, don't rely on just that. Put them in double places. Even when I've done that, it's funny because I'll still get the, oh, what's the code? I'm like, it's in showing time. Oh, I didn't see it. I'm like, we'll go back and look at it. I don't say that, I know I'm not that rude, but I did kind of do one slightly like that recently where I'm like, it's in showing time. She said, oh, well, let me pull it up. And oh, I'm so sorry to waste your time. Yeah, it's in showing time. Don't ever, though, give showing agent instructions like the code, for example. Don't give that up in advance. Like a lot of agents do that on the MLS. You'll see the confidential remarks and they'll put the code to get in. I'm like, that's silly. Don't do that. Don't do that. Questions up to this point? Okay. Yes,
Do you have showtime on your phone too?
yes, I do recommend having showing time on your phone. It's going to save your life especially when you have like 8 showings lined up. And I don't even print the showing sheets anymore. I just have it on my app in the order I'm going. I click on the house I go to next. I click on the map, it takes me right to my map. It's convenient. It's easy. Showing time app. Yeah, you want to make sure you have the showing time app on your phone as well. By the way, so I know I'm going high level through this stuff, guys. Showing MLS or the board does the classes in more detail. If I did a more detailed, we literally would be here for 8 hours if I showed you every little thing. So I'm just giving you some quick things you make sure you need to know. And then there are driving instructions that you want to put in there, do it. Honestly, sometimes I put use GPS. If it's a little bit more unique driving direction, then I put it in. And then that's it. And then down, I didn't make any changes on here, so there was no save button, but normally there would be like a save button at the bottom, I think it is, if I did make a change. Make sure you hit save. Let's go back to the home for a second. Go ahead, Joe.
Is everybody use showtime as far as listing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't. There used to be another company, I think it was called like CSS, that was mainly used in Lee County, but I don't even see that in Lee County anymore. I think they fully backed out. So that was under my listings. And then to add a listing, you would just literally click on enter new listing and then start to fill out the sheet. So your MLS ID, what status is it in the MLS? I always just put active, even if I haven't activated yet. Fill out all the information. I don't think they're going to let me go next until I fill anything out. But it's pretty straightforward. Just make sure you fill it all out. It's going to ask you all the things I just showed you on Ann's profile. It's going to ask you all the same stuff to fill in. That's the main thing in here I wanted to show you. Let's actually go on the MLS side and we'll go back to showing time here in a second as we go to schedule some showings. So let's go into the MLS. And let's just start off with setting up a search. So I know everybody now is in different levels, so I'm gonna just pretend like, I don't know, I'm a buyer in Golden Gate City. Let's just use that one as an example today. So let's go to search, residential. If I was looking for income property like duplexes and up, it would be under residential income. If I was looking for rentals, either short-term, long-term, residential rental, lot, land, commercial, and so forth. Just know that on the commercial side, not everything exists in the MLS. A lot of commercial business is done off the MLS. So a lot of times you probably want to, if I was going to network with agents locally, it would definitely be commercial agents because they're going to, if that's the route you're going. I had one time, one person asked me to help them with a lease with rental. And the minute I started looking at this, I'm like, I'm done. I gave it, actually, it's funny, I had not known him yet. I gave it to Stuart before he was even back here with KW. Because he was, yeah, so anyways. So.
From the rental standpoint, what is usually the commission for a rental?
On the person doing the, and I'm not gonna talk long-term or short-term rental, because I don't know all the science behind that. I know, but usually annual rentals, it's a month of rent is usually the fee you collect as an agent setting up that property.
Where that collected from?
That's collected from, meaning the seller pays the brokerage the commission.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you find
the person that's renting it.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the person, no.
The person that owns is renting it out. Okay.
Renting it out to, you're renting your property to her, but at the end of the day, the brokerage for me listing it as a rental, it will come from you, the seller, to the brokerage. And then of that, just like with a seller commission, let's say 6%, we put on the MLS 3%. of whatever you're gonna collect, you put something out there. Rentals don't make a lot of money from the perspective of you showing rentals, so only time I recommend doing it is if it's friends, family. Cause I never wanna turn anyone down. Remember when we were talking about the rules of a database, we put names in a database, we market to the database, and we service everything that comes out from it. And if that means it's a rental, I'm gonna service it because don't wanna let my database down. But I don't publicly go out there, hey, if you need help with a rental, call me. I don't want those calls. You're gonna make $50 in Lee County and maybe $300 to $400 in Naples.
Yeah.
Now, some short-term short-term and seasonal rent, some of them do make good money. So anyways, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit trail. That is where you go, but we're gonna just focus on residential search right now. For the most part, everyone's gonna recognize the top because everyone has the same look and feel to the top of it. Where it starts to get different for you guys is down here where it says additional fields. You may have no additional fields. You see how I have a bunch here. You may have none, and that's okay. All these additional fields, when you look at an MLS sheet, everybody here seen an MLS sheet? Everyone's seen an MLS sheet, good. All those things, all those inputs, that's what these additional fields are. So over time, maybe I had, for example, a customer that didn't want a wood frame home. So I ended up adding the additional field for what type of construction it is so that I can just go here and click only concrete. I only want concrete. Or I only want a wood frame, which that never happens, but that's where I would put it. Or maybe I was looking for a manufactured home. So that's where I added that field as an additional field. We all get this one. Oh, I don't want to be in an HOA. I'm like, all right, well, let me remove all the HOA properties. So this no mandatory HOA, yes or no. I'm going to put it as a no. So that's again an additional feature we can use. How to add these additional features fields is just add remove. Like the add remove button. And then on the right-hand side, the selected fields are currently what you have available on your home screen already. If, for example, I clicked here and I put rear exposure, and I went to add rear exposure, it's not going to add it. Rear exposure was not added because it's either on the search page or was already on your frequently used field. That's right there, rear exposure. So there was no reason to add it. So it didn't let me do it. If I wanted the roof type, I haven't added this one before, I don't think. So if I want to, actually, I think I hit add. Yep, didn't do it because I already have roof type on my home screen. So again, if there are remember in the past when I've said to you guys, like, why use like your website versus the MLS? This is the part that I'm talking about here, because these type of details to narrow down searches like this, you can't do on your website. So that's why, again, once I have a ready, willing, and able buyer, I'm realistically wanting to use the MLS because of all these criteria that I can use to help filter my search. Pets, I don't know if I had pets, so let's try that one. Didn't do it. I already used pets. That's a common one.
What is room count?
Where did you see that?
Oh, it's room count.
Room count.
Right.
I don't think I have that one, so let me add room count. There we go. I added room count. So now I'm going to go, I added room count to the bottom. I'm going to go back, and now on the bottom is room count. So again, anything that's on an MLS sheet, all those lines, that's what these fields are. It's for you to be able to narrow your search down even further. So, well, anyone have a buyer actually in Golden Gate City looking by chance, or Golden Gate Estate?
I'm fine with it.
There. All
I
right.
have one for Logan once.
All right. Well, let's continue. I'm using Golden Gate City. I'm trying to just keep things simple.
I
today.
do, I do.
You do? All right.
Yes.
Thank you. You're pretending. Okay. Got it.
I really do.
All right. So up to this point, I think everybody, I'm just going to assume I'm going to walk through maybe like you don't know it. So I have a buyer that's looking for a single family home in Golden Gate City. Golden Gate City. They want a 3-2, 2-car garage. And let's see what other criteria we want to put in here for this. They want city water. City water.
Under 400,000.
Oh, forget that part. I'm gonna say city water for a second, just because there's not a lot of them. But let's just see what happens. So we're gonna hit single family home. And they said they wanted 3 bedrooms or more. So I'm gonna go to the bedrooms here, and I'm gonna click 3 bedrooms, but then I'm gonna hit shift and then select the other bedrooms, the other. If you only click on one, if I only click 3 bedrooms, it's literally only gonna show me homes that are 3 bedrooms. This is a tricky one in the sense that, like, I hate when people say, hey, 3 bedrooms and a den, and then the agent doesn't put the fact that it has the den. The search criteria are only as good as the input the agent had. If the agent did a crappy job of inputting the listing, it's gonna make it a little bit more difficult on you. So let's just say 3 bedrooms or more is what they said. They want 2 full bathrooms or more, so I'm gonna do 2 plus sign. If they wanted, I don't know anybody would, but just to prove the point, they wanted less than 2 bathrooms or less, I would do 2 or 1 minus 2 1, the 2 minus. But we're gonna do 2 plus. The reason I'm doing 2 plus is because what if there's a 3 bedroom house, but it has 3 bathrooms? I don't want that to be excluded from my search. I still want it in my search.
So when Joe said the price point and then you laughed, obviously that was a joke,
Yeah.
but. For
We can
my
pretend.
buyer, she wants a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. With a garage
Where?
and does in Golden Gate.
All right,
So
let's
like
do,
what I'm saying is these criteria,
well, let's do it. I'm gonna put.
no,
two-
it's not even the possibility. So how do you
Let's
say that?
well, let's do that. Well, let's actually continue with that and Joe's price point for a second. Let's just see what happens.
How do you?
So I just went 2 bedrooms or more now, because just to include 2 bedrooms, I went to 1 bathroom or more. And then as you said, single car garage, I'm coming to you in a second. So I'm gonna put 1 garage space or more. And then, go ahead, Joe, before I continue.
In the bathroom, are you looking at 2 full baths?
That's a
or
different-
1 full bath and
No, look at it right there. This is full bath. If it was half bath, it would be a separate line.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at 1 plus
Okay,
full bath.
gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
And then let's just get the current price. What is the difference between list price, current price?
If they brought the price down,
I just do current price when I'm doing my search.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do 400 for this scenario. And then I already know, so up to this point, we have 2 bedrooms or more, 1 plus bathroom, 1 plus car garage, single family home. Any other criteria for her? And then under 400,000, is there anything else?
like it needs to be either Golden Gate or like Ave Maria, close to Fort Lauderdale. She wants to get back quickly. Right, so that's what I'm saying, like, how do you?
Well, here's the thing. So technically, this buyer has multiple areas. So this is a good scenario. Let me show you. In a simple world where it was just Golden Gate City, we know that Golden Gate, so Naples, when you see a Naples and property in Naples outside of a subdivision, typically you're gonna see the development name as Naples. With Golden Gate is unique because Golden Gate City and Golden Gate Estates has its own little development name. So I'm just gonna type in Golden Gate City and click on it. Now, for whatever reason, if I don't want to limit it to that, and then I have seen agents who don't put Golden Gate City in the name. Another way to go about doing it is using either the geocode. So you can either put development name, the geocode, which we know that area I know is NA24. I don't know if you guys ever seen the neighbor maps that has all the letters broken, the regional area, or the little areas with codes. I rarely search that way unless it's like a very definite, I know that that's the code that I want to be in. I can search by zip code. So you can search by a lot of different features. If I want to just see all these homes in Naples that qualify under this range, there's only 19 homes in Naples right now so far that meet these criteria of what this person is looking for. And notice that now it did all the geocodes in Naples and it selected all of Naples. When I unselect it, then it takes it off. If I want to just Naples Park area, there's a whole geocode for Naples Park. Yeah, there's never going to be $400,000 price point right now again in Naples Park. So that's why you don't see it there. So now in this scenario, let's say, because I do see this all happen often, here are a couple of scenarios I see. Hey, I want to be west of 75. Hey, I'm looking at Golden Gate City and or Ave Maria out there. Those are scenarios that happen. I'm like, how do I do this? Do I have to set up multiple searches? No, you don't. First, we figure out the house criteria, what's important for the house. The next thing I would do for that now is go to the map. You're gonna click on map up here. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to Golden Gate City area because I know the map area for that is pretty straightforward. Right there, the little quadrant is Golden Gate City. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw just a simple rectangle because it is a pretty straightforward rectangle. So this one's a little easier to do. I'm gonna draw this box around where I want. So now it's only gonna show me homes in here. And by the way, notice it's 0. because as of right now, there is nothing that meets these criteria.
Right.
So what I would do in that scenario is say, hey, I'm gonna put you on a search, so in the chance that somehow magically one appears, you and I will both be elected. But as of right now, I'm gonna change the price for our scenario because I wanna see some results so you guys see it. It doesn't exist right now, so set them up on the search, hey, if something happens,
So that's a nurture?
that would be a nurture, but here's the thing too, guys, in the market we're in today, like for this scenario, if they're really wanting that, the question I would ask, hey, are you willing and able to buy a fixture upper home? That's gonna require some work, because the reality is that there's a home that comes on the market under 400,000, it's a fixture upper.
Right.
Are they even wanting that? Are they wanting a move in ready? If they want to move in ready, you may want to try to work on actually getting approved more. Or sorry, going north, meaning let's go out to Fort Myers, maybe, let's go to Lehigh, let's go out east, let's go somewhere else, because that's not gonna happen here. Go ahead.
When you say let's set them up for search, are you referring to command?
No, right here, I'm talking about right on here.
So how would we do that?
Just how we're gonna get there, once we get our search criteria figured out, we're gonna actually do that. So, for now, let me keep the price open, so it just, because I want you to see results on the map. So now, let's go back to the map view again. Right now, I haven't saved anything, so by the way, if the power goes out, I gotta redo all that. It is what it is. I don't know, maybe it's Wednesday with the storm. All right, so I drew the box, but now I'm gonna show you the thing here. Hang there, guys, with me. Here's the thing with this box. So this box is only gonna show me what's in it, but let's just say hypothetically, Jordas, send me homes in Naples, but I don't want you to send me things that are in Golden Gate City. I'm like, well, if you don't want that, then I'm gonna draw the same box around Golden Gate City. Click the little box, but I'm gonna exclude this shape. And now it's only gonna show me everything else but what's in that shape.
Oh, how cool.
But we know that's what we want right now, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna include this shape. And then I'm gonna zoom out because, what was the other area they wanted?
Ave Maria.
So they wanted like out here, which, let's just for them, because I don't know how far out there, so I'm just gonna pretend that this is the exact, well, I'm not gonna draw a simple box, let's actually use the polygon.
What's
And-
the difference between the box and the polygon?
You're about to see right now.
Okay.
The box is gonna be straight up square. This allows me to do some unique shapes if I wanted to. I'm just gonna be stupid for now, just to screw the point of what it can do.
In the gators right over there.
And now notice now it's including homes in those areas as well. Right?
And there's a swamp.
And then there's a swampland. Let's just actually set a price just to kind of see less homes for a second. All right, so under 500,000, let's go back to the map view. I can go back to the map view here, or I can click here. Here's what's all available. So let's just look at the results and look at it in the list format. Like here's literally where the result options are. But wait a minute, let's go back to criteria. I don't want anything that has a mandatory HOA. So then I'm gonna go to mandatory HOA field and I'm gonna hit no. And now that just brought it down to 9 homes.
Right.
So when I go to results, basically your options are 1 home in Golden Gate Estates that is listed for 485, and then a few homes that are in Golden Gate City. You can see the map view, and oh no, there are okay. So there are a couple of state options here. So let's pretend this is the search. So what now you want to save it. So anytime anything that matches the criteria hits the market, price improvement, goes from withdrawn to active status, anything that happens in these parameters, you're gonna hit all the, so let's for a second pretend there was more than 25, then you can go here and click, hey, 100, so you can see them all on one sheet. By the way, you should never really be sending 100 properties to your people.
Right.
If you're sending 100 properties, no judgment, but you haven't done a buyer consultation with them. Because there aren't 100 homes that match their criteria. You with me?
Mhm.
So just remember that. Select all. You're gonna select all, and here's the thing, everybody does this, they hit email. That's only gonna email them that list. It doesn't save it for future. It only emails them that list. What we wanna do is hit save. And you have 2 options here.
Would you recommend, even though there's only 9, wouldn't you recommend going through those 9 before sending them off?
I'm gonna go back to that point, so thank you. Hold it, make sure I don't forget to hit that topic. I'm just gonna pretend that I wanna send them all though in this scenario. Then I would hit save. Now, let's say I'm working on this search and I'm not done with it. I actually still need to make some changes. I want to be able to come back to it later. That's what I do new saved search for. This new saved search allows me to now name it whatever I want to name it. Test search, Golden Gate City, whatever you want to name it, and you can actually assign it to a contact as well. I'm gonna, for this purpose, hit save so I can show you later how to come back to it. Now I saved it, but I'm back here again. So this is saving your work, is what this is doing. But now let's actually set it up for an auto email. Go ahead.
How's it different from the recent search?
Recent search, I don't know where he's referring to.
Right corner top, just below Jordas?
That has nothing to do with this. I have no idea right now where that would take.
Takes your recent search.
That's, I wouldn't do that though. Hit save,
Yeah.
save it if you need to save it.
All right.
What then you can do, and here's the thing, you can do both, but I'm just doing it so that I can teach you where to come back to, but realistically, when I do hit new auto email, it's saving it as well. So when I hit new auto email, this is where now you're setting up somebody on a search. It's gonna ask you their contact, the contact, so you can see here and click all the people that you have ever put into the MLS are here.
Wow.
So these people I've put into the MLS. And then if they're not in there, I'm gonna hit create new contact, and then the stuff in yellow are the required fields. So fill in the stuff in yellow, what salutation you want, and then hit save. I'm not gonna do it right now. Then you put whatever your subject email is gonna be. Usually I would do your Naples home search or whatever, you know, if I've set people up on multiple searches, sometimes I'll do like, hey, new construction homes, under 500. Where I get specific like that is for people that I have on multiple searches, so that we have an understanding on, hey, this list is for that, this list is for this. Maybe they're looking at single family, maybe they're looking at duplexes. Those would be two different searches, so I would name it accordingly. Then here you have by default what the welcome email is going to look like. If you wanted to add something, you could, you can type into that. This is what the welcome email is going to look like, whatever you put in here. I've never in my life changed it other than adding a few extra words at the beginning. Then what the reoccurring emails look like. So every time there's an update to that search, this is what they get. But if you want it to look a little bit more customized, you can change it and use whatever else you want in there. Then whatever your signature is, you can edit it. And then down here, a couple options here. First one I want to show you is what's called the concierge search. When you click on concierge, notice all options at the bottom disappeared. When I unclick it, they reappeared. Concierge search is going to be when you want to vet the property prior to it going out to the buyer. So for example, where I've done that is because I know that sometimes the information agents provide is not the greatest, or maybe, yeah, it's just, that's my reason. Sometimes I just need to, they tell me, oh, here's another reason. No, I want only homes with a white kitchen, white cabinets. I'm like, well, there's no feature for me to put white cabinets, so I have to look at the pictures and then send it. That's where I would use concierge search. It's more so when there's a criteria there they want that just not easily filterable. Is that a word? Filterable. Did I just make a word? Is that a word?
No, but we got with it.
Filterable is not a word.
No, it's not.
Filterable is the word. It's a word now. It's a word now.
I understand.
There you go.
We
Right.
understand what you're saying.
That's hilarious. All right, we don't want to do that though. We don't want to do concierge. So I'm gonna unclick that, and then I'll have some couple options. I can either do ASAP, meaning literally the moment there's a change to their search criteria, boom, they get an email. Or daily emails are sent on the days you choose. So if I don't want Sundays and Saturdays, you can unclick it, and then you can do either in the mornings or in the PMs. I don't know exactly what time in the AM or PM. I believe it is AM. For PM, I don't know what the exact time is. I don't really think it matters. It's for them to get their daily email of what's changed on their search. Personally, I'm a fan of the daily emails, and if you want to do 2 a day, that's fine. Then just click all AM and click all PM. The reason I'm a fan of doing it this way versus the ASAP is that that's going to clutter their inbox. Every little price reduction, new listing, every time something happens, they get an email. They're going to get frustrated after a little while because there's going to be just too much stuff. You guys understand what I'm saying? So stop the search. Oh, I'll show you in a second. So that's it. we would hit save, and now that's it. They get the welcome email, they get the first portal search, and they're looking at properties. Now let's go back to the dashboard. And remind me to come back to the question from earlier, okay? Let's look at the dashboard. So this gentleman on mine, so this is what you're gonna be looking for people that you set up on a concierge search. He's on a concierge search, so I have to go look at this property. I see what the name of the search is, so now I can know, okay, these are the hurricane impacted properties. I would just now vet it. So I would look at it, and the reason I have it on a search is because MLS, when the hurricane hit the status type known damage. But sometimes I've seen some property that say known damage, but realistically, it's like a roof and everything else was fine. It wasn't flood or anything like that. I'm like, I don't want to send that because that's not the type of deal you would want. This is a beat up property. It doesn't look good.
Wait, so you can search homes that were destroyed?
Yep, that's a field. It's a search field.
Oh.
Let me see this property real quick. This looks like it's Cape. This is Cape. Yeah, Cape. This probably was damaged because they don't even have a single inside picture. Yeah, hurricane damage. Yeah. So I'm gonna just hit all on that, and I'm going to approve selected. And now he's actually gonna get an email with those listings. Because I vetted it to make sure it is the type of properties he would be interested in considering. So that's where that happens. Now here are your recent portal visitors. By the way, if yours doesn't show up this way, it's because these things move around. So it's just probably yours is in a different order. Find the order that works for you. Probably want to have concierge and recent visitors up top. So these are the recent people that have been on searches and their dates and when they've looked at properties. So for like Dan and Vicky, for example, I can click on their name and I can see here, I have them on 8 auto emails. I can see here they've favorited 18 properties over the time of being on the search. They've marked 2 as possibilities. Here's their recent visit, so I can click on their recent visit and actually go into their portal. But what I like to do, let's see, I haven't done it in a little bit here. Let's go to send email. Here we go. I like this one. So it looks like they received an email this morning. They haven't looked at it yet, but they did receive one yesterday. And they did. Looks like one property was updated. These are all sellers finance offered. So these are, I put a search together that's Lee and Collier County where it says that the seller is offering seller financing. It looks like one property was in there and I can see what property that is. That was on that search. And now I would gather any information I want and do a little warm call to her. Hey, Vicky, how you doing? Did you take a look at that property on 7121 Penner Lane? I know they did. Right, but I'm still just calling to see if there is any interest in this property. So that it was on your dashboard under recent visitors. So just play with it. Now let's go back to that search and So I'm gonna go to let's see, my matrix, and I'm gonna click on save searches. Click on there, or I could go to auto email because I did put her on a. I never saved the scenario that I was just doing for the Golden Gate one, but this is where I would go find it. So these are all the people that have on auto emails, all the searches that are active right now. But let me go back to save searches so I can go to that one that we were doing a little bit ago. So there it is, this test search that I started earlier. Let me just click on there and we're gonna go back to the results and start going right where we left off. To the point earlier that was brought up, what if we want to vet some of these properties? And we know that these 2 properties are not a fit. I'm going to click those 2 properties that I know are not a fit. I'm going to hit refine. And I'm going to either narrow or discard. Narrow, you're going to use if those are 2 of the only 2 that matter to you. So like if I hit narrow on those 2, now it's just going to leave those 2 as the only 2 properties that are fit. How do I go back and undo that? I forgot right here. I think I click here. Takes me back to the properties again. But if I want to discard the rest other than, or I want to discard those 2, and then I hit discard, and now those 2 are gone. And there we go. And then I can hit revert to bring them back. So let's just pretend these 2 I want to discard. So I'm going to hit discard. I would hit select all, and then we're going to do save, and then we would do a new auto email. Anytime there's a change to their search, they're going to get alerted. Questions? I'll stop here for a little bit.
The question I asked earlier was, if the buyer finds the property, they know we deal with all that. So how do you stop those emails from being?
Okay, you did ask me that. Go back to, auto email. Find the auto person that's on that search, let's pretend it was this search, that's why these are not going out, because I already disabled that search. And then you just hit disable, or just like full delete it. That's it, straightforward. Let's set up some showings right now. So, question, when you wanna set up a showing, let's say for 5 properties, or in this case, 7 properties, do you do it one request at a time, or do you do it all together? How do you do it? Together? Who says together, or who sells one at a time?
Suggesting that we're gonna have a client and we're gonna drive.
One customer, 7 properties.
No, I do all at once.
And we're doing it all in one day.
This is the way I can, probably.
Yeah, we're gonna, okay, so you're a little bit further, you know.
Might say, take a look at them, see which one do you think.
No, we know, these are the 7 that we wanna look at, we already know that. These are 7, my question to you is, do you go set up the showing showings one at a time? Or do you do it all together? Do you set up one showing request?
Do it all together.
I just wanna make sure you guys are saying,
I don't know, you didn't answer the question.
I want you to do them all together.
Okay.
I want you to do them all together, there's no reason to go one by one, because you're gonna go show one customer, 7 homes. So we're gonna click all 7 homes, then we're gonna go show that customer. And then we're gonna go to actions. And we're gonna click on showing time. We're gonna click on showing time, do not try to do this on your phone, it won't work. Tried it a million times, it doesn't work on your phone, you need to be on the computer to do it. If you guys end up finding out that you can do it on your phone, teach me. Please send me appointment confirmations for this listing, and then I like usually email and text confirmation. I agree to the terms, and then I add to showing cart. You're adding a cart is cart of multiple things, multiple homes in this scenario. And we're gonna select the date that we're gonna go show those homes. So we're gonna pretend that this Saturday, we're gonna go ahead and show these properties. So I selected the 2nd, and then it's asking me for the buyer name. I could add buyer names, honestly, I don't think it matters. So I would just put you here. Put the name of the cart, that's gonna be the name of the cart, Matt Test Showings. Doesn't really matter what you do here, you can call it ABC 1, 2, 3, whatever you want. Hit OK, so it's going for the 2nd, and then we're gonna call it Matt Test Showings. And click
Was
OK.
the agency this? The name of the buyer?
No, they don't see this information. Nope, they don't see this information. Now, a couple things. All right, so right now we have the date. We didn't provide a buyer name. We just provided a showing a description of the cart. And then we have a list of properties. Now, notice if you look at the map here, they're kind of in some random order. I probably don't want to go to this one first, and then there, and then back, and then back. That would not be smart. Well, just that's what hang in there though. Relax.
Sorry.
We're gonna click on Smart Route first.
Okay.
Click Smart Route. It's gonna recalculate it for you, and it's gonna hopefully do a better route. Here we go. Better 1, 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, 6, 7. That's a better route. If I wanted to change it, because I actually rather go to number 2 first,
Right.
number 1 second, I'm gonna just go back up here. I'm gonna put number 1 as number 2. And number 2 is number 1, and I'm gonna hit refresh, update. And now they're in the order I want. Number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That makes sense. That makes sense for this, but I will tell you this though. If it's all in Golden Gate City, let's say they were all in Golden Gate City, that's a short distance. I would do it in the order of the best to the worst.
The best houses.
The best house. So let's say there's.
Don't you wanna save the best for the last one?
I don't know, show
No,
the best
best
one and
first.
get them excited, and then everything else is gonna look like crap comparison.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a good trick to know.
And there has been many times actually where let's say I have 7 showings and they fall in love with, let's say the second one, am I like, do you love it? Like, we're going to write an offer right now, because it's the thing, we can go look at the other properties, but we're gonna lose time. I could just cancel those showings. And then I always have my computer with me, and we can write an offer right now. Don't do, okay, I'm gonna get back to the house, I'm gonna get back to the office, we're gonna write it out. No, well, let's do it right now.
On the hood of the car.
Hmm?
On the hood of the car.
Yeah, right there on the hood of the car. Yeah, right there on the hood of the car. And just let me say this right now. You guys realize that there's a lot of properties with cameras out there and audio recording devices. Tell your people to compose themselves, especially when they love the property. I had one like 2 years ago, and literally we're outside the house and they're like, oh my God, this is the one, this is the one. I'm like, yeah, we also let the camera know up there. Now they know too. What do you think happens when that happens?
Like price stays.
You guys agree?
Yeah.
Seller sees that, do you think they're gonna start budgeting on some things?
Bring it down.
No, so compose yourself. This is the order. Now, a couple things here that I'm really excited about, not really actually. 2 of them are going shows, so I know those are not gonna be a problem with appointments. The other ones do require appointments, they're probably occupied. Remember earlier when I said there's gonna be restrictions on showings? There is the black box, I can't show at 5 o'clock in the morning on that property. This property here, so this property here doesn't let you do showings between 11 and 2, it looks like. Only these windows are open, and then after, probably work or something like that. These probably
Baby's sleeping.
maybe. So I may have to reorder this just because let's just pretend for today I'm starting at 9 o'clock. Well, crap, man, I'm gonna maybe try to push my people a little bit further, maybe 9:30 to start the first one. Why? Because I don't want to go to number 1, which I can schedule as early as 8, but I can't go to number 2 until 10. What am I gonna do in between that time? I'm not gonna go to the other properties because that would mean I would have to drive all the way to the States and then back. So in this scenario, I would like to probably start probably 9:30 on the first one. And here's the thing, guys, when you first start taking people out, learn your people. There are some people that to look at 3 homes, it takes them 2 hours. We have other people that for me to look at 3 homes, we can get it done in under 45 minutes because they're quick. They don't need to see every baseboard. They don't see every light bulb. They don't need to have a conversation like that. They're in and they're out. But you're gonna have to get to know your people, figure out who they are, because if I know these are one of those people that just take their sweet time, then I may start at 9 o'clock. Then here it's gonna tell me what type of appointment is it. It's gonna be a showing. If I was gonna do a second showing, third showing, and so forth, we click the options, but it's gonna be a showing. It's gonna be at 9 a.m. and I wanna have a 30-minute window. By default, the default's to 15 minutes, but I usually do 30-minute to an hour windows depending on when I think, because I may not know exactly when I'm gonna arrive. If I give you a 15-minute window and the seller left and now came back 15 minutes later, and I haven't come yet, like that's an issue. So 30 minutes to an hour, it depends. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. So I know we're gonna be there on time. It's the first house. I'm gonna do it from 9 to 9:30. I'm just gonna block that window. If I had notes that I want the agent to see, I would put them in there. Now I'm just gonna hit save. Now it has that first block. Now it looks like it's gonna take me 9 minutes to get to the next property. 9 minutes, but I know these people take a while, and either way, I can't show this one till 10 anyway, so I'm gonna click the next time I have available for 10 to 10:30, and I'm gonna hit save. Oh, forgot to select the time of showing, save, up, showing 10. 10:30. All right, perfect. Showing. Now I know it's going to take me 20 minutes, pretty much 19-20 minutes roughly. That's as long as I don't hit any traffic to get to the third property. So I know my people are kind of slow. Probably 11 o'clock would work on it, but as long as we get in here at 10, we'll get out by 10:30. That gives me a 30-minute buffer. Maybe I want to give myself a little bit of leeway, so maybe I say 10:45. And maybe I do it till like 11:30, just to give me that window to arrive. I'm gonna have to click that again. Showing, maybe I do 10:45 to 11 on that one, or 11:30, sorry. Give me some time, make sure that window, I know I'm gonna arrive somewhere in that window. And then I keep going, I just keep selecting the times. This one I know is gonna be super easy because it's just a go and show, so I'm less worried about this one. I'll just tell them I'll probably be there anywhere between 11, showing. I'll tell them that I'm gonna be there somewhere between 11, and usually when they're vacant like that, usually either 30 or 45-minute blocks. I even done an hour block before. It's just letting them know, hey, I'll come somewhere between 11 and 12. So I actually would do that with that one, so that they know, I don't know when I'm gonna arrive. I just know somewhere between 11 and 12, I'm gonna arrive to your property. This one now requires an appointment, so I gotta be a little bit more methodical on this one. If I get here at 10:45, you guys, I'm not gonna finish up because I'm already running into the CMA time. I wanted to teach you. You finish this up. Let's just pretend right now that we don't want to remove these other properties. We're not gonna show them. You can remove these properties. We decided we're just gonna look at these properties here. I got everything ready to go. Got my route 1, 2, 3, 4. I know what I'm doing. Then I'm gonna hit. I'm not gonna do it right now because I'm gonna get a big alert and get excited because there's showing happening on their home. I'm gonna hit send request. Send request is going to send those listing agents my request, and now they have to confirm it or deny it. They're going to confirm or deny it. I'm gonna get an automatic approval for this one because it's a go and show. And all good to go. Questions? Yes.
Don't forget that in season things change as far as traffic pattern.
Yeah, and that's, be strategic, guys, be strategic. And one other last thing I will show you here on dashboard. Let's say I already have that scheduled for next Saturday, like we said, I can just go right into showing time. And I can click on showings and then I can do showing cart. And that's gonna show me, it's not gonna show me, oh, it actually is there because I started, I just never hit send. There's the mat test right there. So I can actually go back into it and finish up because I never sent the request. I can then send the request. And this is where I would go if I wanted to make a modification. Maybe I want to cancel one of them. Usually for canceling, I just go on the app and say cancel on the app, on the showing time app. So. Any question about anything I showed you guys, from searches to setting up showings, putting a listing in showing time? We're gonna take a break. I could probably go deeper, guys. Here's what I'm gonna encourage you to do. Go to the neighbor classes as well. Whenever I do boot camp next time, come in again. I'll probably hit something different. That's the one thing, I can teach the same topic 4 times and it'll be 4 different methods probably. That's the reality of it. So let's take a quick 10. We're gonna come back and we're gonna spend the rest of the time on comparative market analysis. All right, take a break.
Your number in, which is the 3rd step. And then you got all the products there. I think that's the idea. Because people were having trouble going to their dashboard and seeing all those links. So now they're all right there. That's all. That's the only thing I can think of. Let's see, go to Dropbox here.
Oh, have a link right to, DVPR.
Okay, so the CMA is one of the most feared 3 letters for a new realtor, because they're like, oh, I can't do one of those. And it's an intuitive process that is really more of an art than a science. I mean, it can tell you what steps to go through to figure out what the relative market value, range of market values is for a property. But it really all boils down to you and your specific knowledge of the property and the neighborhood, which is going to allow you to fine tune. I thought she started the recording.
She did? Okay, sorry.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is we can teach you the steps, but it's right here. It's knowing what's going on in that particular neighborhood. It's knowing what makes this house different from another house. So you're going to constantly be making fine tuning adjustments to come up with a range. And the purpose of a CMA is not to determine what the best price to list a property is. It's determining what a range of prices based on circumstances can be that you can get with your partner, the sellers, and make a decision, okay? It's always the seller's decision where to list a price. You can twist their arm, you can give them your thoughts, but I think the mistake people make sometimes is they feel like I'm the expert, I'm gonna tell the seller where to list their home. And it's really, it's a partnership. And the most important thing you can do on a listing appointment is come up with a partnership where everybody feels good about the decisions you're making, and you have buy-in from the seller to say, okay, I agree with you, we're gonna partner at this price, and we're gonna list the property and try to get it sold for the highest possible price in the shortest period of time. Okay, so understand that all of these mechanics are just tools to help you zero in on a range of list prices that you're gonna work out with your seller. And in this market, it's much more important to be conservative, right? We don't want to be adding a lot of value for things. We don't want to be increasing the market value above what you feel comfortable with. And I'll show you an example here in a little bit. Okay, so as I said, a CMA is an art, not a science. We can teach you the steps, but you have to add value. You have to add your intuition. And regardless of whether we don't have any new realtors in here anymore, so we don't have to worry about that. But the point is that no matter how many of these you do, and Jordas will nod his head, they're all different, and they all involve different circumstances.
Every single one is gonna be different.
And there's no way that I can say, if you do this, this, and this, you'll get it priced right. It's something that you have to really spend the most time in preparing for a listing appointment. It's where you want to spend the most time. Drive the neighborhood. If you've never been in the neighborhood, drive it. Make an appointment for a showing, a preview showing in the neighborhood. Drive around, look at the amenities, look at the condition of that house. Take a picture of it from the outside. And when we're going to prepare the CMA report, we're going to have that seller's picture on our CMA. Are they going to feel like you did your homework? Are you going to feel like you took time to drive the neighborhood and look around and make sure that you understood it? You know, one of the things that you have when you first start is you have fear of listing appointments, because you're like, gee, I haven't been doing this for very long, and I'm up against people that have been doing it for a long time. Well, understand your job at the listing appointment is to be the neighborhood expert. You know, a lot of the big guys will go there with a stack of magazines and said, you know, I've been doing this for 30 years and I walk on water in my spare time and I do this and I do that. Here's a listing contract, sign it. If you're a seller, you know, I guess you could buy into the ego and the presentation and all the pomp and circumstance. But what do you really want to know as a seller? What's the range of price that I can sell in? What's the best possible price I can get? And how and what's your marketing plan? How are you going to help me get from point A to point B? And if you can do that, it doesn't matter whether you have 30 years experience or 6 months experience, you can get a listing. But you got to remember, your point is to convince the seller that you know the best parts of their home, you know the best parts of the neighborhood, and that you can provide them with the best service. So we're going to talk about the skills that you need to develop this range, but remember, you want to get as much information as you can on your listing appointment. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to have this all nailed down on your first listing appointment. You have to have an idea, regardless of whether you've been in the home or not. You have to have an idea what it's worth. We'll show you how to get some estimates. You know, obviously Zillow has this estimate, CoreLogic has one, RPR has one, Remine has one. They all have estimates of value based on external data. But you really need to make sure in your first visit that you tell the seller, you know, look, we need to walk around. We need to get familiar with your property. And one of the great questions to ask them, why did you buy this house? What was important to you when you bought this house? So they'll tell you, well, we really love the pool area. We love the view. We love this. We love that. We love the neighborhood. Had great schools. Make notes. That's why they bought the house. Is that why somebody else is going to buy that house? Pretty good reason. You want to look at the condition of the property. You want to see that, has it had a lot of wear and tear? Does it have chartreuse carpeting in one room and flashing pink in another and bright orange in a third one? those are all things that maybe you can be making notes of, that maybe we could do something about, because we can affect the first impression that a buyer is going to have. So that first meeting, when you're on a listing appointment, is really important to gather as much information as you can and build rapport with your customers. If you ask good questions and talk about the neighborhood, talk about the schools, they're going to begin to think, wow, you know, this person has done their homework. They know where I live. They know what's important in my neighborhood. And that's how you build rapport with the seller. Most sellers, Jordas, talk to how many people before they decide?
I mean, they'll talk, plan for 2 to 3, but they'll likely go with number 1 or 2.
Right. They'll go with the first person that gives them an impression that they can be a partner with them and help them. So your job is to take the process here and come up with a presentation to convince them that you're the local neighborhood expert. And will they hire you over somebody that's been doing it for 20 years that just goes in and talks about how great they are? Yeah, I think they will. So I think the thing is to start out with the idea that I'm a professional, I'm well-trained, I have good information, I'm going to share it with you, and I'm going to work hard to make sure we can get the property sold for you. And I think if you put on that impression and you have that attitude, that mindset, you're going to have a much better chance of getting a listing. So we'll talk a little bit about the mechanics here, but understand that your job is to really be as familiar as you can with everything about that property. Okay? So we want the seller's been looking at the news. What does the news say? Everything's crashing, real estate's terrible, prices are plummeting, interest rates are skyrocketing. They probably don't have a great picture of the market. And obviously the first thing you want to find out is why are you selling? Not in so many words. What led you to the decision to call me here today? Just kind of interested to see, are you planning on moving somewhere? Are you planning on downsizing? What's your motivation? Not so in so many terms, but just say, how's your family doing? We're coming from consideration. You have family in the area. How's your family doing? What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about putting your place on the market? What's going on? Now, that's where you really want to be a great listener. You don't want to be talking much. You want to be asking questions and listening and trying to figure out what their motivation is. Oh, my mom and dad are old. They're not doing too well. I'm going to move back home to Cleveland because that's where they are. And I'm willing to give up what I have here to go be with them and help them in the last years of their life. Boom, motivation. The kids are gone. We got a 3,000 square foot house here. We don't need all this. We're paying mortgage payments and taxes and everything, insurance. And what we really want is a smaller condo so that we can lock the door and leave it and travel and move around. Okay? Motivation. If they're just saying, well, you probably don't have to worry about the following motivation. Oh, we just want to see what we can get for our house. The market's hot. And if they're saying that to you, you're like, hey, let's see what we can do about that. But I think you really want to have a conversation that, talks about them and what they're thinking and why did they make the decision to at least talk to you about putting your home on the market. Okay. So these are all things that have nothing to do with the CMA, but they're all about how the CMA is going to come out. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what's going on in the market. And you want to have, we put out all these graphs and charts. Those are the reason that they're there, is for you to communicate the actual current market conditions to your customer. Now, those market conditions are for all of Collier County or all of Lee County. They're not for a community. They're not for a particular neighborhood. They are the general goings on in the community, and they're useful to show the sellers. What do we show them? Inventory is still very low. Demand is higher than supply. Prices aren't crashing. Homes are taking longer to sell. And because of the overall interest rate environment and economic situation, homes aren't selling as fast as they did a year or so ago. And they're probably not selling at the peak market value. They're not crashing, but they're probably selling 4 to 5%, in a 4 to 5% range below what you heard your neighbor sold a year and a half ago. Okay, so you want to acclimate them to the market so that they don't jump to a conclusion. I think there's a couple things that you really don't want to talk about early on in your discussion. One of them's what price, and the other one's what's my commission. Those are the two things they're going to ask you, right? You want to provide value before you try to answer those questions, okay? So we're going to try to position that home in the particular neighborhood. We know what the market is in general. We have to figure out what the market is in Autumn Woods, or the market is in Mill Run, or the market is in, a neighborhood. So we'll show you how to do that too, okay? Any questions so far? Okay. In other words, don't sweat the details. Plan what you're going to do, what questions you're going to ask of the customer, what you're going to tell them about the market, what you're going to tell them about what's going on in their neighborhood. Plan ahead, and it'll be a lot less stress, right? I know what I'm going to do when I get there. I know what questions I'm going to ask, and I know what questions they're going to ask me. So let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of market absorption. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we publish the market absorption for overall single family homes and condos in Collier County and in Lee County every month. And you've got a 15-month chart that we send out. So you can tell that the market absorption at the peak in early 22 was up around 100, and now it's down around 14 or 15. What does that tell you? It tells you not as many homes are selling as quickly, and you have to make sure that you have to make sure that you are positioning the home so that it's going to be in the area where it's going to get some activity. All right. So first thing we want to do is we want to go into MLS, right? And in MLS, you can get this information pretty quickly, right? We can look at how many homes have sold. Now, again, we're going to go into a neighborhood, Autumn Woods, you name the neighborhood, Piper's Glen, whatever the neighborhood is, you're going to focus in on that. You know what the macro is. Now we're going to go down to the neighborhood level. And then maybe even we want to go into, if it's a community that has multiple different types of housing, maybe we're going to zero in on just that particular subdivision. So we want to know a little bit about what's going on in the market, and this is going to tell you as quickly as anything I know how to do it. Go into the MLS, look at the number of closed transactions. This particular chart does it every 3 months. You probably could get by with 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months, but this is a chart. You can, I'll give you some samples, but you want to look at what's happened throughout the past year in the MLS in that neighborhood. And the good news is that the market activity has been pretty good. So there's comps out there. There's results. For a while there, I know, remember Jordas, when you could look and you didn't see a comp in 2 years. Anyhow, right now there's plenty of activity in the MLS. So we can take obviously each one of these and divide it by and figure out the average homes that are sold per month, right? And then we can look at the current active listings in the MLS. All this stuff is available just by popping up MLS and looking, plugging in that neighborhood, right? And looking at active listings, pending contingencies, closed sales in the last 12 months. And also I like to look at expireds just to see what didn't sell. But anyhow, you can now figure out now what the month supply of the market is, right? And in this particular case, we've gone from 5.5 months supply, and it's trending, it's kind of bounced around a little bit, but the last 3 months it's down to 4. What's the average list price in that neighborhood? What's the average sale price? Okay, so here, if you're in a neighborhood that has multiple subdivisions, you might want to focus on the particular subdivision you're in, or on single family home subdivisions within that community, right? What happened in condos, if you're looking at a single family home, doesn't make much sense, right? And sometimes, if you get enough comps, you can even look at the price per square foot. Problem with price per square foot is if you expand it too much, too many different variables, it means absolutely nothing. Right? So if you're looking at single family homes in a neighborhood between 2,000 and 2,500 square feet, or even 1,800 and 2,500 square feet, the price per square foot can be important. If it's homes from 1,200 square feet to 3,500 square feet, some of them have 5 bedrooms, some of them have 2 bedrooms. You gotta get you gotta get it boiled down to something that's homogeneous. And then you can maybe use square footage as a barometer for where you should be price wise. What was this average sold square footage in the last 3 months or 6 months? All right.
But is there an easy way to find the average list price and average, like,
Yeah. It's all in there.
oh, is it?
Do we have a date on when this slide was made?
I'm sorry?
Or do we have a date when this slide was made, or is this?
No, it's just a general slide.
General slide.
Has nothing to do with the
Okay.
current market. It's just, it's a technique.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay, good.
let me kind of work through this, and then if we want to dive into MLS, and look
Okay.
at the details.
I know, obviously, you could add them all together and then buy them, but that would take forever.
Right. No, I mean, when you look at, when you run a search of a neighborhood, the basic MLS search gives you quite a bit. You can add columns to that search. So you can always see what the list price was, what the sell price was. You can see what the list per square foot was, the sale per square foot. All of that's in the MLS database. And you can maybe want to expand and make a special column report that'll work for that neighborhood by just adding those fields in. I'll show you how to do that. That's no big deal.
Okay.
All right, so calculating the market absorption rate, okay, 12 homes sold in the last 12 months, right? That's 1 house per month, right? And that's what we want to find out. What is the rate of sale during the last 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months? The 9 months is a little bit, maybe too much, but what you want to see is what's happening in the last quarter, the last 6 months, and the last year in that neighborhood, all right? So this is a little chart. We can make copies of this, or you can take a picture of it, or I can distribute this to you. You just ask me. But here's a little exercise. So each one of these sections takes a particular area for criteria, right? And breaks it down, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. So can you go in the MLS and see how many closed transactions there were? Now you might want to do Autumn Woods, and then you might want to do a single family home subdivision or a group of subdivisions inside of that community as 2. So you might want to do general, here's the community, here's your neighborhood, or here's the single family home neighborhoods in your community. So you can narrow the search criteria and come up with different numbers. All right. So fairly simple, right? We know how many closed transactions, we know how many sold per month. That's just the top line divided by the column line. So average hold per month divided by 3, 6, or 12, right? How many are currently active in the MLS? And then, okay, divide that sold per month into the currently or active to get the month supply houses. Now, this is as long as no other houses enter the market. So the minute you get a listing, you set up a search in MLS that every day updates your neighborhood to see something's gone pending, a new listing's been added, something expired, something withdrew. So you'll be showing that maybe to your seller and say, look, I'm going to look at your neighborhood every day. And any changes to the MLS, you want to ask them, how often do you want me to update you? Once a week, twice a week? How do you want to be updated? Email, telephone? And once I figure that, and if you're asking all these questions, these people are going to be like, holy Toledo, this person knows what they're doing. They're asking all the right questions. How often do you want me to update? I update my knowledge every day in the MLS. Any change in your neighborhood, I get it next day. how often would you like me to communicate with you, or under what circumstances? Again, while you're using these tools, you're asking the questions to convince your seller that you're the right person for the job. Okay, so there's a couple charts that I want to show you, but this is Zan Monroe is a character, he's a great instructor, but he's like, okay, so one of three things is going to happen when we go on the market, and I can look at the market for the last, let's say 6 months, and I could put the date in, and I could say, okay, how many homes are on the market right now? That's competing homes, right? And how many had good flow? In other words, how many sold quickly based on the days on market till they went to sale? How many are still on the market? And how many have been on the market for a long time? So you're taking that dozen homes or whatever is active and you're breaking it down into how long have they been on the market. You can look at the history of a property. You can see if it's gone under contract or come back out, or gone under contract, or it went on the market, the price didn't change and it's still sitting there 6 months later, no changes. That's the stagnant mass. Those stagnant mass sounds difficult to say. Can you get paid from the stagnant mass? Do you want to take a listing that's going to sit? So you got to be careful here to, let me jump real quick and see if I can get into the fishing chart. There we go. This is another one that you might want to take on your listing appointment.
If I email you, can you send that to us?
No, we can send all this to you, no problem.
In fact,
But
all the documents, can you
this is part.
all the documents that you,
Yeah.
can you send paper?
There's nothing hidden here. So this is a good chart. I don't know. I mean, it probably needs to go a little smaller. Okay, so there's three outcomes here, right? So this is a great little chart. Denny Grimes, if you're ever on his Friday program, which is excellent. If you can spend an hour on Friday from 1 to 2 with Denny, you'll get the latest scripts, you'll get the latest insight into the market, and you'll get some great input as to how to handle seller objections and buyer objections, as he has 70 or 80 people from all over the country on there, and they're all in different markets, so they all have different issues. But so when you're talking about the three outcomes of pricing with a seller, and they're looking at you and going, well, my neighbor sold for 750, back in January 22 or March of 22, and you're like, well, that's wonderful, that's an awesome price. So what I want you to focus on is what's happening in today's market and what's realistic in today's market. And oh, by the way, didn't you say you were going to downsize to another condo? Yeah, okay, great. So even though the market's not the same, the market that you sell in is the market that you buy in. That's fairly simple. You might want to write that down, but I mean, that's if they're looking at trying to get what their neighbor got in March of 22, and they're also wanting to downsize, they're not going to pay what they would have paid in March of 22 for a new condo. So you want them to allay their fears that, hey, even though you're probably not going to get what your neighbor got a year and a half ago, you have a good chance of getting a good deal on today's property. So anyhow, but the three outcomes are: property receives little or no action, no showings, no offers. The property has showings but no offers. Oh, the property sells. We hit the market at the right price. We get a lot of showings. We get a lot of activity. And do we have a chance that maybe we'll get some multiple offers, a little competition going? That's today's pricing technique. That's what all the masterminds that I listen to every day are. The millionaire real estate agents are like, okay, If the market's at 375 and I price at 350, I got a good chance of getting 375 because I'm gonna get a lot of showings, I'm gonna get a lot of competition. If I price it at 400, what's gonna happen?
Nothing.
If I price it at 375, I'm gonna get some showings. I might get an offer of 375, but I also might get an offer of 350. Because the consumers are very smart people, and I'll show you what the consumers are looking at. And you gotta be thinking what a consumer's gonna see when that property hits the market. And the first thing they say is, that's a joke. That's way overpriced. That's what they would have sold for a year and a half ago. What does the consumer do with that? They write it off. They don't want to see it. They don't even want to look at it on their, they don't mark it as a favorite. They don't want to see it anymore. So what do you have to do to get back into that consumer's horizon? You have to reduce your price. And what will happen? You'll chase the market down. And the consumer is going to say, oh, they're desperate now. They've reduced their price 3 times. Let's go in a little lower. So you really don't want to be in that position, and you don't want to put yourself in that position. And, you know, I know listings are scarce and we're all looking to make our way in the world, but taking a way overpriced listing is a questionable business decision in today's market, I think. So anyhow, you might have this chart with you, and when they start talking about what happened a year and a half ago, you might say, okay, well, do you want to be 1, 2, or do you want to be 3? Oh, I want to be 3. Well, okay, let's talk about what we can do to put you in that price range. Okay. All right. So that's the stagnant mass. That's the fishing chart. There's 3 possible outcomes. You're going to get showings. You're going to get offers. You're going to sell. You're going to get showings, but no offers. Feedbacks from the agent's going to be, it's a little over. It's a nice listing, but you're kind. It's a little overpriced. Okay. Customer decided on another house in the same community. What's that telling you? You're not in the right spot. All right. So you can use this little chart. You can use that fishing chart, which I like. And then this is a new chart that that's in there. There's another kind of fishing chart you can use. But when your customer says, let's start above the market, do you see where it says effective pricing there? And you start above the market. So in this, that's probably the most important decision you can make in today's market is what's your list price? Is it going to attract interest? Is it going to get circulated in the MLS to my customers? I say, oh, that's a new listing. I'm going to send that out to my customers. Are you going to start to generate interest? And if you're getting none, the first thing you got to say to yourself is, "Self, this isn't working well. This isn't going well. We're not getting any action." And when we're not getting any action, that's you really want to almost establish up front with your sellers, like, hey, we're in the fishing chart here, right? 1, 2, and 3. If we're in 1 and we're not hearing anything in the first 5 to 7 days, problems. If we're getting a couple showings and the feedback is, yeah, customer thought it was overpriced, or customers looking at other houses, or no interest. What's that telling you? What's the market saying? Market saying no. That's
So
the only thing the market will say is no.
what is your go-to plan if after 5 to 7 days, nothing, and you know it's overpriced? Obviously, that's a talk with the seller. What is that? I mean, what would you
I think
do
that's
about that?
I think that's part of your dialogue with your seller at the listing appointment, right?
Right.
Not only are you asking them, you're trying to figure out their motivation. You're trying to partner with them on a price. And if they're insisting on a price that's a little bit above where you think it should be, in the old days, so what? We'll sell it. In this day, it's it. So you say, okay, if you insist, I'm your partner, I'm your business partner. You insist on starting at the top of the market. Here's the plan. We'll do that for 10 days. And let's take a look after 10 days. If there's no activity, we don't have any showings, and the online showings are going, they'll peak right in a couple days, and then if they start going like that, you can look at Zillow, and you can look at Realtor.com, and you can look at online showings in the MLS. You can look at the reverse prospecting, and if it starts going like this, can we have a conversation and try to adjust? And if they're like, well, I'm not sure, I kind of want to wait 30 days. Wow. That could
So if
be,
they're okay with price reduction, where do you go from there? What do you say, like, let's go down?
well, I mean, I mean. 10 days, no showings, 10%. It depends on the price. I mean, it should be significant enough. Let's say you're at 400. Should be probably 399. What's the next step down? 349. But you could maybe go, let's go from 400 to 375 to 350, understanding that people search in $50,000 ranges or.
Yeah, well, I think to your point, it depends on the price range, because $1 million property is gonna be different than a $400,000
Right.
property, and there's no exact percentage. Here's what I've recently, pretty much I've always done. So two things. First off, you gotta think about when they wanna do a price improvement. If we agree, okay, hey, 10 days, no showings or an offer, we're gonna price improve, there's virtually two options. Either we're gonna do a small reduction and have to do a bunch of those and continue to ride the market down, or we take one strong reduction down and hold a little bit firmer for a longer period of time. That's how I explain it to them. Now, like if you use this chart, can you zoom in a little bit, just so, yeah, zoom in on the chart. I just wanna kind of illustrate something on this.
Oh, it's not doing it.
Go back.
Who the heck?
Alright, hang with me, I think you guys, go back to that, I think you guys see the line. That line that's going down, that's the market, that's price points going down. The X, that first X you see is where they should have listed, but they didn't list there. They listed higher, that X above it. So every time we do a price reduction, we're essentially just trailing the market there.
Oh, I got it.
Losing me, Jeff. Right there, now, there we go, much better. Every price reduction, all we're doing is trailing the market down, because the line is the market. Have we ever gotten ahead of the market with doing small rate reductions? We never do. So, for example, I had one lady, what did we go on at one time? Forget the exact number, maybe I think we went on at 330. And then I wanted to be under 320. So she chose the route of doing a smaller reduction of 327. That did nothing.
Right,
That did nothing. It did nothing.
no,
So now she had to make multiple adjustments like that. To Jeff's point from earlier, what's gonna happen to the general public when they see 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 3,000, and if we do all these little reductions, all right, they're motivated. Let's just throw a little offer out there. I'd rather do one larger reduction, get close to the market price we should have been at, and go from there. One thing you could use to determine what you should go down to is you can look at the last, this is what I choose to do. I look at let's say we've been on the market 3 weeks hypothetically. I'll look back at the last 3 months or 3 weeks of properties that got pending that are like mine. I'll look at the last 3 weeks of pending since we went on the market, we were in competition with each other. And now they're at, let's go back to the condo example. I wanted to be on the 320, and hey, yeah, the last 3 that sold, they weren't on the contract right when we were on the contract, we're at 315. I want to get there as quick as possible. Because the reality is at 327 now that we reduced it, these 3 other condos sold at 315, or at least they went pending. Obviously, we don't know what the list price is, but they chose to write an offer on that one, not ours. And it's the way I like to look at it. People are like, well, people can make an offer, but they're not going to. Because if I have 4 cars to choose from, one price at 3, whatever, that's way up here, and these are fair price and better probably than the high price one, why would I even waste my time? I don't want to negotiate, I don't want to do all that. I'm gonna go to the one that's priced correctly. So that's my take on that.
Plus, to add into that, doesn't it? When you make these micro amount changes, doesn't that start to stigmatize the house? Because people start to think,
For sure.
oh, what's wrong with it? Why did they do a price reduction? That's what I've always thought.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff said it, we're partnering with them. At the end of the day, if somebody chooses to go higher and ride the market down, as long as they know what their risks are in doing that, if you're very transparent with them, if we do that, you can show them a chart like this, we may end up getting less than it, which is price the correct to begin with. If that's the risk you're willing to take.
That's the downhill slide of a piece of work.
And I think especially if they're wanting to go out at a higher price than you're comfortable with, you have to have an agreement with them that you want to look at this thing every 10 days. And you remember, you told them every time something changes in the market, I'm gonna know about it the next day, or even if you want the same day. And every time I see price reductions or properties going pending or properties going for sale, and we're not getting any showings or any activity, I'm gonna report that back to you. And we have to look at what's happening in our market. This home went under contract 10,000 less than yours. What's the price reduction? 10,000. So I don't think you can peg a number. Obviously, if it's $1.2 million, it's a different number. But if they want to nibble, what they're going to do is chase the market down.
I look at that property that went pending, let's say there were 3 of them, whatever the average price of them, I look at it as the price point that a buyer was willing to at least make the offer. And that's what I mean, I'd rather have an offer for us to negotiate than just sit here and no offers of selling. You know, the more time on the market, what happens?
One of 3 things happened. Either they made the offer at that price, or there was more than one offer and they got a little bit more, or they got a little bit less. But they didn't get what you are at here. We're sure of that. So,
And they definitely didn't get your price.
so I really think it's you know, I really think that it's something to do with the rapport you're building with your seller as you're going along. You know what their motivation is. You've explained to them what you're going to do for them, and they've made a decision based on a range. And if you're all in sync, then that's great. So let's measure the market, and don't wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks because you're losing money. It's got to be every week to 10 days. That's how quickly if the average days on market is, I think it's somewhere around 45. Things are happening more quickly than sitting there and waiting. This is another chart. It's a little smaller than that, which I like the other fishing chart. But basically what this is saying is if you're fisherman number 2, you're actually helping fisherman number 3 sell their property. Okay. If you're equal features and benefits to another home in your marketplace and there's not a lot of difference, but they're priced below you, what are you doing? They're coming and looking at yours and they're looking at the other one and saying, yeah, this one's got all the same features and benefits, but it's priced less. I'm going to go after number 3. So one of these charts I think is good to bring along with you, just to make sure that the seller understands exactly where they are. Okay.
I had a question, sir.
Sure.
So Jordas is always talking about be strategic. So let's say in an example like you just cited, looks well, shows well, probably underpriced just a little bit to draw attention to it. Well, let's say you were going to do an open house on Saturday, the first big event. It looks right, shows right, you price it a little bit low to draw attention, but also could you do something like we're receiving closed bids between this time and that time. And then people can put their whatever, you're gonna see it, but the idea of the closed bid is like, you don't know what I'm offering, and she doesn't know what she's offering, and we're all trying to compete for that place to make them say, I'll throw something on top or whatever. Is that
That would have been brilliant a year and a half ago.
okay?
Right now, you know, the market absorption's under 20%. That's less than 1 to 5 homes selling per month. So what you want to do is you want to have that open house. If you get a lot of interest and you get more showings, sure, you can say, okay, I'll accept your offer, but I need a little more time to respond to see if you're getting competition. But I don't know. I mean, there's no such thing really as a closed bid. It's an offer that gets submitted along with the other offers and gets considered based on its terms and price by the seller. There is a provision, I guess, in the code of ethics that says you can submit a confidential bid. I don't think I ever saw one.
Well, that's like a mystery person, like a celebrity or something. Right? They want to make it confidential.
There's an option, small print in the books that says I can submit an offer and have it be confidential, meaning you can't share it with anybody else. But only a couple people have ever mentioned that to me. I think what you want to do is condition your seller to, if you price this aggressively and your features and benefits are the same as, if not better, than the other properties and you're here, you may get multiple offers. Here's what we do in the case of multiple offers. So you condition them to say, okay, if we start to get a lot of interest and a lot of offers, we're going to give people a window of time to submit all the offers. Then we're going to look at it and we can end a multiple offer discussion. Do we do highest and best, or do we just take the best one? There's escalation clauses, but we don't see too many of those anymore. The furor of the market is gone away.
Yeah, we fall back on that, what's the precept, where you say, what will a house sell for, what the market will bear.
Right.
So if the market's kind of just sitting slow, balanced or stagnant, I was thinking that that might be a way to just generate interest and activity, and get the market smart to go.
By saying, hey, show it. The only way in the market we're currently in that I see that you can accomplish that is underpricing it.
Right.
Worth of 20-30%.
Yeah, maybe it's if you CMA it and you say, okay, everyone else is at 400, but let's price this at 385.
I don't think that'll do.
That wouldn't like draw people in.
You're running the risk that someone's gonna come in and give you a full price cash offer at 385 and your seller just left $15,000 on the table.
But if you say we're accepting all offers between Friday and close business Monday. I mean, it's like you can say, come one, come all, Monday afternoon, we'll review them, we'll post our findings Tuesday morning.
If it's worth 400 and 385 at the list price, that is not gonna be enough for a large segment of buyers say, we gotta make an offer on that property. Now, you tell me 350, 340, 330, that is so undervalued, yes, I'll take a shot at it, but again, we're not in the market, at least here in Florida, I've been hearing different things in other cities and states, but we're not in that market, or I wouldn't take that risk. Maybe what a company one offers to 185, crap, now I can't bump it up to 400.
The seller doesn't have to take an offer, right? If you price it X and they come in X full price, you're thinking they have to take it? No. Seller can take any offer or no offers.
Right.
So if the seller decides they don't like the offer, it's financing, it's a long close, all those other kinds of things, they can say, I'm gonna counter your offer at a higher price or a different closing date or whatever, but I don't have to take an offer. But I think in this, it would be a little bit arrogant to say, we're accepting all bids until midnight on Monday, and 3 homes have sold in the last 6 months in that neighborhood, In the height of the heyday, that was basically what we did, was we said, we're putting it on the market, we'll look at it next Saturday, and next Saturday we'll decide where we're gonna go.
Well, to your point, so 2020, late 2020, to most of 2021, pretty much the strategy was I would list it on Thursday and I would literally put, hey, make all your offers by 4 p.m. on Monday, let's say. That's what the market was doing all over, not right now, so I wouldn't take that risk.
That's not to say that if you price it aggressively and all of a sudden you get 8 showings and 4 offers come in, you can always say, hey, anybody else wants to make it, we'll make a decision on Saturday at 5 p.m. And have everybody extend their offer. Now, there's highest and best, not necessarily another great strategy in this market. A lot of times if you say to a buyer who's put in their best offer, we'll take highest and best by noon on Friday, they'll be like,
I think this discussion is bringing up one solid point. That's how fast things changed. If this was a year ago, a year and a half ago, we would have been all for that idea.
We were doing multiple presentations on how to handle multiple offers.
Now,
Last year was like piranhas, now it's like.
Yeah.
goldfish, right?
Yeah, so I think the pace of the market is such that you have to price it at least what you feel is a little bit aggressively. And you have to have a strategy with your sellers as to how often you're going to review this to see if you need to make adjustments.
What did you say the absorption rate is?
I can look it up. It's around, in Collier, I think it's somewhere around 20%, 1 in 5. But you got the market charts every month that I send out. It's in there. So we're still in a seller's market inventory wise. We're still well under 6 months overall. But they're not selling as fast as they were, even though we have a couple, 3 times the amount of inventory we had a couple years ago. We still have less than inventory than a balanced market. So the last slide here is, what can the seller control? Can they control the location? Can they control the size of the home? Can they control the features? Does it have a pool or doesn't have a pool? So what can we control? We can control the condition and the price. Those are the only 2 things a seller can realistically do control their situation? Can we do some landscaping in the front yard, maybe spiff up have the landscaper spiff up the front yard, maybe some mulch, maybe the front door that looks like it's got scratches all over it, maybe we can sand that, paint that. Maybe there's some painting inside we can do. Maybe there's some modest cosmetic things we can do, spend a few $100s to make it look really sellable. But we can't change the fact that it doesn't have a pool, we can't put a pool in, right? It doesn't have a den, we can't put a den in. You know, there's a lot of things we can't control. So we have to take what we have, make it look as good as possible and price it accordingly, all right? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about where do we start, all right? There's a lot of good information about what's going on in the market. Back down here, there we go. And let's talk a little bit about, see, there's one other thing you might want to have here. Then do not control the. I don't understand the screen too well, but there. I'm gonna do it that way. Okay. So I can open this, right? Hey, there we go. All right, now, this is a chart that we had in a sales meeting not too long ago. All right, so let's take a look at the most common mistakes that people are making in the market, right? When you price your home at the top of the market, you eliminate, and this is another chart that you might want to take on a listing appointment, because it's kind of interesting that it talks a little bit about what's going on in the market, okay? So when you price your home at the top of the market, you eliminate many prospective buyers because they won't look at your property. They see other properties in the market that are priced substantially or significantly, or at least quite a bit lower than yours. They look at your pictures, they look at the pictures of the other, you know, all of this is being done online, okay? So now you say, well, let's come halfway down between where the market, where a lot of the homes are priced and where you're thinking about pricing, okay? Then basically you attract the highest percentage of serious retail buyers. This is usually the most favored pricing range. However, in this market, when you price your home below the halfway mark, you will attract investor buyers as well as retail buyers, which will result in a very quick sale. So this is what you have to weigh and balance with your sellers, okay? What is their motivation? How quickly do they need to be where they want to be? We've already gotten some information here. How quickly would you want to be with your parents at Cleveland? Well, my father's not doing really well. We'd like to be there in 60 days. All right. What does that tell you? If absorption is 1 in 5 in a month, and they want to be there in 60 days, you've got to be down there in the 80% range there. You've got to be there where, you know, boom, you hit the market, boom, there's showings, boom, there's offers, boom, we're out of here. Otherwise, then they may have to wait. They may have to postpone. And remember, one of the things that gets swept under the rug in all these discussions is, if I don't sell it for 3 months, I got to make 3 months mortgage payments. I got to make the homeowners association payments. I got to pay the pool man. I got to pay all the expenses of keeping that house up. I know I want to get out of it. I want to sell it, but now I got to keep it up for the length of time it's going to take to sell. So that's another aspect that you can say, you know, if we there's even I remember we worked on a chart at one time. How much does it cost you to carry the house per month? $4,000. Okay. So now we have it for 3 months. That's $12,000. What happens if we reduce the price 5,000 or 6,000 and sell it faster? It's all money. All right. Again, I can certainly share all these charts with you. This chart, the fishing chart, the overpricing chart, all good to have with you as part of your listing presentation. I think that some of these charts are good to include in maybe your pre-listing package, but definitely in your listing presentation, that you can go over them, because what you're trying to do is convince the seller that the market is very sensitive to being pricing accordingly. And the chances that they're going to get their motivation are better if they take a realistic look at the market.
And just an FYI, on Thursday's last class, right, we're gonna talk about business planning, and we're also gonna talk about listing and buyer consultation. And, you know, like, this is Jeff's listing presentation, I'll show you guys, like, my template, so we will talk about the pre-listing, what should be going out, and this is a lot of what should be going out in advance to your seller, so, that would be Thursday for our last class. We'll go deeper into this if we want to.
Okay, the bottom part of this chart are, I don't know how to get rid of this. Anyhow, the bottom part of this chart is the top 5 most common mistakes. Not choosing the right price when a property is first listed. We can always come down. We just listed a property last week for a couple, and that was her thing. I want to list here, we can always come down. And so we went to work on that discussion and said, okay, what about this? What about that? And we were successful in convincing her that listing too high and coming down was not a great strategy. All right. Putting the property on the market at an unrealistic price. Obviously, you've done your CMA homework. You got an idea what the range of prices is. And you want to narrow your range down to where it's relative to the overall price, right? You want to be a little bit lower and a little bit higher maybe than the perfect number, so that the seller can look at it and decide what they want to do. All right. Brokerage fees. That's an interesting discussion, Jordas. Have you ever done that? You know, I work for free. You know, when they say, what's your commission? And you don't have to worry about that. I work for free. I'm going to sell your house at the best possible price in the shortest period of time, and your net is not going to have anything to do with my commission. All right. And the last one I think is really important for a seller to understand, even if you take out number 4, which isn't all that important to me. Thinking buyers aren't comparing your home on a dollar-to-dollar basis with every other home on the market. Consumers are smart. Whether it's Zillow or Realtor.com or Homes.com or whatever site they use to check out your house, they're going to look at the pictures. That's a marketing thing for you. I'm going to take great pictures. I'm going to do a 3D home tour. I'm going to put a video out there. I'm going to make your home look as good as it possibly can. But they're going to look and they're going to say, well, Joe's listed at $450 and that house looks a little rough inside. It looks like no flooring updates, kitchen's old. And Jordas's house listed at $425. It's got brand new flooring, nice paint, nice landscaping. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to the best possible value on the market at the best possible price. And they're going to do that online. And other than online showings, you may not even know about it, right? Okay. So this chart, I think, is a good one to have in your listing presentation. And so let's talk a little bit about where we can go to get pricing information. All right. So you go to your local MLS. I'll just use this listing that Doreen and I just put out there just so you have something to look at. All right. So we can go into the MLS and look at active listings, right? And we can look at go to the tax. And Core Logic built into your MLS system has a estimated value. and it has a confidence score. In this particular case, you'll notice that the range is from 1.7 to 2.2 million. The confidence score is 73, which is low, and the standard deviation is high. So what they're saying is, what we actually got an appraisal of this property so that we would have an idea from an appraiser what the property would appraise for. We decided to pay for an appraisal up front, so we didn't have any issues with an appraiser saying it's worth this and price it here, and the buyer not being able to get financing or anything like that. So our appraiser came in and said the same thing. Here's the approximate appraised value, but it's very difficult to find comps for this particular home in this particular neighborhood. So we have a low confidence score.
Would
Okay.
you recommend it being appraised or?
We did it because it was a divorce situation and we just wanted to make sure that there
So
was
that's a no.
tomfoolery.
Confidence score 72, you're saying that's a low,
No,
and what would be a high?
90.
Okay, so it's like 100.
I think I think if it's not 85 or 90, it's kind of a shot in the dark, isn't it? 73. Pardon?
Yeah, I would say.
But that, I'm just showing you where you can get areas of value. So let's go and look at, let's go back here. Cursor's not being real cooperative here. Let's go back up to, okay, on your dashboard or on you have Remind, right? Remind is another good source of market value information. You get that from the dashboard. You can also get it when you first sign in. You get that, all those tiles, okay? So let's properties.
Three, zero, four,
There
five.
we go. So what I'd do if I was just starting my CMA, I'd go and look at CoreLogic, see what their AVM is, right? I'd go to Remind, down at the bottom of Remind. Now remember, Remind tells you what the equity is, right? That's a good thing to have. But also down at the bottom, they have a number of different estimates of value, right? So again, you can see that this is not a property that's the price, right? You can see that the Zestimate is very near where we end up listing it, but we can also see Remind said it was worth way more, and First American way more. All right, so I'm not trying to speak about this particular property. I'm saying I'm going to go to these 3 or 4 locations and just see what kind of market data I can get from the people that are doing these estimates of value. All right. Then I'm going to go to RPR.
While you're pulling this up, guys, remember earlier on when I started, just pick 5 properties, do 5 CMAs a day. Like, don't wait for an appointment, go find some properties and do a CMA on it.
Right.
That's the only way to start to get practicing and do them. It could help you too, to go maybe find some properties that maybe have also been on the market for maybe more than like 140 days or something like that. And then do a CMA for that property to get an idea.
The more you practice this, you see a home, pick one out of the MLS, the more you practice this, the more comfortable you're going to get. Okay, so RPR is the National Association of Realtors, NAR, RPR. Only realtors can access this platform. You all have access to it because you're realtors and members of the National Association, okay? And you all can use this as a tool. And I like RPR. I'm not real fond of the reports that you get, but I like the way it works, okay? So you can see that RPR with a very high confidence rate said that that's what they think the property's worth. So I like the confidence rate there rather than the 73 I just saw from CoreLogic. You don't get much of a confidence rate from Remine.
RPR is showing 1.693. But you have it listed at 699.
Right, that's pretty close, isn't it?
6 Ks.
$6,000.
You can't fuss over 6K when you're in the millions.
So what I got now was I have 3 different sites that I've gone to and they've given me 3 different ranges. What I like about RPR is that you can go look right away at the price with that confidence ratio, and you can look at where they used to get comps. All right. So they're using recent closings. All right, so let's take a look at this first closing. It was June 22nd, same neighborhood, same house. Had a second story with a bonus room on it. Look at that price per square foot. So when the appraiser sent us the appraisal, they said, look, you can go a little bit higher than this, but look at your comps. All of your comps are pointing you that what's the consumer, the first thing the consumer's gonna go look at is what else is sold in that neighborhood. Oh, here's a sale that isn't even 2 months old. What did it sell for? Take that 611, multiply it times the 2585, and you get 1.6 million, just under 1.6 million. So when we went to price this, we said, look, even though the appraised value would allow a little bit higher valuation, where do we want to price it? We want to price it. The first thing a consumer and the first thing an agent's going to look at is what has happened in the neighborhood. The comps are out within 5 miles, but they're in different neighborhoods, right? And they're different amenities and they're different locations. So the minute we branch out to comps in another area, in another neighborhood, now we introduce uncertainty, okay? So that's why we said, after all is said and done, let's go with a price that's relative to that last comp that's not even 2 months old. Okay. Did anything tell us to do that?
Yeah.
Well, we had the benefit of a great appraiser that told us, you know, you got to watch out for your comps here because this is a difficult house to get comps for. But we had the benefit of a comp that was fresh and new, same year the house was built, same design, had just a bonus room on top. So that's when you get a good comp like that, love it. Embrace it. Say this is telling me where the market's going to go and what the market's going to ask.
Question, because this calculation was with different specifications, but square feet, is not better to calculate with the similar.
Yes, except we know that this house is the same floor plan with just a bonus room on top. We know it's built at the same time. We know it looks exactly the same inside. So there isn't a whole lot of variation here. Now, if one of them was 5 years older, it had old floors, old kitchens, that sort of thing. Yeah, now we got to start to adjust, and we'll do that in a minute.
Can I draw something out right now? Because I think that based on what you just said before that, it makes sense. And this mark is like, hold on. Make sure you guys can see this clearly.
Better marker than that, my man.
Yeah, all right. You said, what did you say? I'm trying to think of this. Oh, the comp, like hugging. I just want to talk about something with that because this is causing a lot of confusion right now. So when prices are going up, think about 2020 when prices were starting to go up. If market price was here, meaning the comp set this number, whatever that number is, I mean, we're just talking general concept here. With the market increase, if the seller put it here, it was pretty much okay. The market either caught up to it or they did receive offers at their list price, and in some cases you saw crazy above list price. That was in that market. So we were in that market where I was looking at sold data because it sold at this number and I knew the market was increasing. So okay, I based my decision to even take the listing based on what I knew was happening. But when the prices, and I'm not saying it's going that steep, but in general, when the prices are doing this and the market says it's down here, just like it did over here, but the seller wants to start up here, that's too high. Let's say it's high in general, but what the market is saying. A lot of times here, what we want to look at is the active homes for sale. And take a look at your pendings. The point I want to bring up here is this. I think fast forward 2 years from now, we won't see as much of what I'm about to say, but right now it is showing up. What I'm seeing right now is I have, these 3 homes over here that sold maybe let's say 4 to 6 months ago, and they got that number they were wanting, that high number. But then when you go look at the active homes for sale, you got 3 active homes for sale at these high numbers that the seller wants to get, but they're not selling. 90 days on the market, 4 months, 6 months, they're sitting there. But the comp said this, so just we gotta see what the market's doing overall. This is where you gotta be an expert of the numbers, because traditionally speaking, yeah, you could have listed it here and you probably would have made an offer, but right now there's 3 other active ones for sale just like it, or if not even better, and they're not selling.
Right.
So that's the part today you have to be cautious about. And then where the pendings can help you is going back to my statement earlier, is that if I can see X property went pending within 30 days or 2 weeks, whatever the case it is, it's under contract, at least that, whatever that number is probably going to be a better indicator of where you need to be list price. Generally speaking, apples to apples, right? You got to make sure, to your point, we got to compare similar properties. But one thing is true, tell me if I'm wrong here, rarely, unless it is like, in our home where it's like they got 3 different models, rarely sometimes are we comparing that way, where it's model to model. Sometimes we're looking at square footage, sometimes we're looking at bedrooms, sometimes we're looking at updated kitchen, not updated kitchen, pool, no pool. That's where the science comes in. I think that's where practice comes in. Right. No other way around. That's where practice. So just be careful here, because the comps, to my whole point of this is the comps. Yeah, they're the comps, but look at what's also for sale.
I have a question.
And in this particular case, there's 1 sale in that neighborhood within the last 2 months. The rest of them are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 miles away. They're in Hawks Nest and Hawks Ridge. They're in different neighborhoods. They have different features and benefits. They were built at different times. Yes, you can adjust for all that, but the more adjustments you have to make, the more risk you're taking. We'll look at that in just a minute.
So how do we determine, let's say this house, your comp has that additional square footage. How do we determine how much we're going to add or reduce according to whatever the comp has?
Okay.
How would you determine that?
Well, we're going to go through an actual CMA, but the answer to that question is, as long as you use the same adjustment throughout your analysis, and it's not like, for example, if one is 2,500 square feet and the other is 3,100 square feet, there's 600 square feet difference. Okay, I don't multiply that by 611, right? I multiply that by maybe $100 a square foot, what an appraiser would give. That's one of the reasons we got the appraisal, to see what factors they used in adjusting the price. But most adjustments need to be small. And you can adjust for bedrooms, bathrooms, garage, pool, all that. But those are generally, if you look at an appraiser's report, they'll be small adjustments. They won't be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And I think that's the point. One point I want to make, I think, to the question, there isn't a number, like you can't just say, hey, this one has a pool, so add 50 grand. It doesn't work that way.
You know what I learned it from looking at a lot of appraisals. A pool can be $100,000. The appraiser will give it 25,000. That's a pool. That's all the pools across that area are worth 25,000. But if you always use 25,000 to every one that has a pool and doesn't have a pool, then at least you're adjusting it by the same amount. Where you run into trouble is if you try to adjust equal things at different rates. How much is a bedroom worth? $500, $1,000. It's not worth 10,000. Okay.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this, and I try to understand when did you request the appraisal? Before?
Right when we first started to work on the listing.
This is a unique situation. This is not the norm.
Right.
Just to be very clear, like I've never done it. I haven't been in that same situation that prompted it. They're in a divorce situation, that's what prompted it.
Yeah, they need the legal.
We actually were appointed by the court, and if they went back to the court, we said, here's our appraisal, here's the repairs, here's everything we did, so there wasn't any. But the appraisal helped a lot in this case, because the comps were terrible. I was looking at comps going, that was another thing, is why do we do an appraisal? Because I was looking at comps all over the place. It was really tough to say, but that kept coming back up. There it is, not even 2 months old, same neighborhood, same architecture, same model. There's 16 homes in the whole community.
I think to your point, like for the most part, you can find comps, but if I was in a situation where I absolutely can find no comps, what I think I wanna go for is way lower than what they think they wanna go for, and you know what, let's get an appraisal about that at that point. Generally speaking, most areas are gonna find comps.
So an appraisal generally costs $300 or $400. If you're all over the place and you're a seller like floating around, what an appraiser is going to say is what a buyer's lender is going to say when they get the appraisal, right?
So would that be another recommendation if they're so high? that
I've done it before.
Right,
I've offered to pay for the appraisal at closing. And you know, we did the appraisal, and the appraisal was a tiebreaker because they were all over the place and we were trying to find comps that would pop in. But you gotta remember, you can't have an 1,800 square foot house compared to a 3,200 square foot house. It doesn't work. Even if they're in the same neighborhood, the adjustment is too big, right?
Price per square
If it's 5 bedrooms and the other one's 2 bedrooms, forget it. So you have to be able to find a range of comps that are within a reasonable square footage difference, reasonable bedrooms and bathrooms. You can do pool or no pool, but you can't pick big differences and then try to adjust because the adjustments are too big. That's just kind of.
last one, sorry. What is the difference between closed and off market for status? Like I'm looking on mine and I see some that are off market.
Off market means that they might have been an off market sale. Not everything closes in the MLS. If they're off market, they could have closed a long time ago, and the program is using it to be a relative measure of value, but the confidence score won't be that high. These are all based on closed sales within a couple of miles of each other, but the problem is, see, off market, that one sold in 23, but it didn't sell in MLS. Okay. Off market in this particular case probably means that it didn't sell, as it would say closed.
So they took it off.
Expired and then.
Yeah.
They never put it up.
Okay, so I don't want to get too hung up on this, but these are really good tools to help you to try to find the right number for your.
Broker Jeff, you said 3, to find our CMA, to get to our CMA, you said we had 3 ways, RPR, remind, and what was the other one?
The core logic, the one that's inside of a matrix, where we went to the property report. We went to the property report, and the property report told us what the core logic range of value was. All this has given me some basic information, okay? And what it's telling me in the 2 Remine and core logic is they're all over the place. The confidence score is low. That was. Where's our list? Here. This cursor is a little, there we go. So we looked at the tax information, right? And we went down and there was the AVM, the real AVM. And also you could go to Zillow. Zillow says it's 1.69 million. So, I mean, you could go to the consumer sites and sometimes get information, but you can always go to these 3 sites and get a number. All right. And once you have that number, then you can start to do your CMA. So let's go back and try to answer your question a little bit more about that log me in, start.
Dropbox,
Pardon?
do we get Dropbox?
No. You can get it for,
You're okay.
I think it's like $99 a year for.
Yeah.
More storage you'll ever need, and then what I do is I have everything, no matter where I am, everything is stored in my Dropbox, so I can usually go find it. Without having to worry about what computer it's on. There we go. All right, so let's go through in the last few minutes an actual CMA. Come on. All right, here's an actual CMA that you can do. All right, let's do it this way, and then I'll show you how to get there from here. All right, so here's a CMA that I did for a property. It's an older CMA, but it was a pretty good CMA in that it was easy enough to show you how to do it. So when you go into Matrix and you you do your search, down at the bottom, there's a little check mark for CMA. Okay, that will take your comps that you picked in the search and it will pop them into this program, which will produce a CMA. Okay. So remember I said, go take a picture of the property. That was easy. This happens to be one that was in the estates. Okay. You get rid of all this up here. I don't know what. All right. So when you get into the CMA, I'll just get one started for you in a minute. But when you get into the CMA, you can pick out the reports that you want from the CMA. Here, so I like to have a cover page, right? And then I like to have a analysis of where my comps came from. All right. And that's a little map. Now, the estates is a little bit of a tough area to do comps because it's not in a contained neighborhood. All right. So what I used in this particular case was proximity, because you'll notice that right here is a Publix. Right. So I didn't want stuff that was way out because the distance to amenities was longer. So I picked out these 5 comps that were within a tight radius of where this house was. Okay. Now you can select these reports, right? You can say, okay, here's the reports I want. Well, this is a summary of comparable listings. Okay. And this is showing me all the sold listings so that I have something to show my customer. That the range was 332, median 351, high 370, high 430, the average 372. Okay. So I had that. And then I had these comparison charts, right, which show the comparison with the subject. All right. And each one of these, this is where you start to look at your features and benefits. Okay. They're listed there, right? And you can start to compare the various features. What did it list at? Where was it? What type? What was the view? What did it face rear? Every one of these things can be a point of adjustment. Doesn't have to be, but it can be. And this is what comes standard with your CMA in Matrix. All right. So one of the things that I did was, not only did I want proximity to the subject property, but I wanted acreage to be the same, right? I didn't want one to be 1.14 and one to be 3.85. I wanted them all to be somewhere around 2.25 to 2.5 acres, all right? And then I control the proximity by looking at an area around the subject property. Now, how many comps do I need? 4 or 5 is plenty. You don't need 25 comps. Pick out 4 or 5 that you think, and you're probably gonna have to do a little bit of research, look at the pictures, see when they were built, all right? See what their size is, see what the lot size is. And again, I'm in the estates now. This might not be the same as if I'm in Autumn Woods. That might be a different thing, all right? So, but I picked out square footages that are similar. 1662, 1570, 1722. Okay, those are all within a couple hundred square feet of each other, so I don't need to make major square foot adjustments, right? So I'm just showing the customer what properties that I use to compare. There's the subject is always right there, right? What properties did I use to compare? And again, I stayed similar in square footage. I stayed similar in total living area and similar in lot size. But I had some concrete block, some wood frame. I mean, again, I was looking at what was available in closed sales. So that I could try to get the best comps I could get. All right. This is a report that you can put in if you want. You can add in as many of these reports as you want. You can put in the CMA Pro report. I think I like the comparables report where they're going across, but you decide which ones you like. You can select this bottom of this CMA Pro report. Okay. Again, this starts to show the difference in the lowest price, highest price, average price, and the average price per square foot and the average days on market. Or this is back in the old days when 100 days on market was average. Again, you can pick out these that you like. The nice thing is you can print this to a PDF and you can say, I don't need that one on this one. I don't need that one. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Okay. So there was my cumulative analysis, right? With my averages, my selling price to list price, my selling price per square foot. Now, again, I tried to knock this down to as homogeneous a sample size as possible. Similar square footage, similar lot size, similar location, okay? So the more I can get things tight, the easier it is to compare and make the adjustments.
I have a question. In my case, I start with houses, modern house, in Golden Gate area, but in this area there are no many similar houses, only 2 or 3 around all over the states.
It's tough.
And it's difficult to put the price because it's not to compare. It's possible.
The estates is one of the tougher CMAs, wouldn't you say? I mean, but it's not impossible. You just have to work at it. The more you go out in radius to get your comps, the more risk you're taking. If they're all on Everglades Boulevard, so what? But if some of them are inland and one of them's on Everglades, I mean, if they're different in distance to amenities, grocery stores, all that, but you try to get as many as 3 or 4 or 5 comps. You don't need 10. You need 3 or 4 or 5. But in the estates, lot size, somewhat location, square footage, and one thing you can't do in estates is outbuildings. They could have the finest RV garage, 2-story, air-conditioned RV. The appraiser will say it's worth $10,000. The appraiser is appraising the house, not the outbuildings, not the amenities. I had one that had a full-service garage in there. Could hold 4 RVs. They worked on them, and we struggled to sell that house.
In this case, it's better to take an appraiser concept because it's the different
It's not impossible, though. I mean, you see what we did was we picked out 4 or 5 things that were common to all of these, and we said, that's the best we can do. And the house appraised fine. Maybe I was lucky. I don't know.
When do you decide to co-list with another?
What now?
When do you decide like to co-list with another agent? How does that?
Well,
Go ahead, take that one.
Well, you're on a team or you somehow got the listing together. So for example, I'm a single agent. I have no reason to co-list the property, let's say with you as an example. However, like I'll give you an example where I would have been, either you're on my team, so we co-list everything because you're on my team. Or like I remember one time, me and Adrian were gonna go, our old OP, we were gonna go for the same listing. And so we decided to actually interview together and both of us have a chance of getting it and splitting it versus not doing it. And that's rare. Most people sometimes don't do that, but it's like, why compete against each other? We ultimately didn't get it because of commission, they went with a discount brokerage. And if we did get it, we would have co-listed it at that point.
That's good to know.
Or, I'm newer and I need help and I have somebody helping me with it and I'm gonna split it with them, so that's where I would co-list
If
it.
you have a mentor,
Yeah.
these are great things to go over with the mentor, because they've done a lot of these things. I mean, I'm happy to take a look. I've done a lot of them with people. But most of the time where I see you get into trouble is you don't do a good job of making your selections. You try to look at all the bells and whistles and the furry things and all that. It's got to boil down to 4 or 5 things that are the same or very similar, otherwise they're not comps. And you don't need a lot of comps. You need 3 or 4 or 5. You don't need 20. So now here's to your point. This is the CMA price adjustments, okay? And this is where you can adjust, right? Here's one that was 4 bedrooms. And remember, it's CBS. Comparable, better, subtract.
Yeah, this is that.
Or SBA, subject, better, add, okay? So I use $5,000 for a bedroom. Is that a good number? I have no idea. What does it cost to build a bedroom, Jordas? I don't know. If you have to knock walls out and add on, that's a lot, okay? I didn't do a lot with view because the view in the estates is usually always the same. Unless it's on a big lake or something like that. There's not many golf courses out there, so I didn't do much with view. But if you're in a neighborhood, and I had one where one had a beautiful lake view, and the other's looking at a hedge and the road's on the other side, you want to adjust for that? Of course you do.
Yeah.
$10,000, $15,000. Rear exposure, southwest, south-south. Northern exposure is considered the worst because you don't get the sun on your home. Remember, the sun moves from down yonder here, and it moves 180 degrees up to here, and then it moves back. So if you're worried about a sunset, you're worried about light in the home, and it's facing north, that gets the least amount of light. Some people feel like that's, if all things are being equal, the southern exposure, southwestern exposure, better.
I'm smiling because I didn't realize when I got in how important that was to people. It really is. You need that. I was like, how does the sun rise again? I literally had to internalize that. Rise on the east, on the west, and knowing that that's actually important.
I was working with some people in Pelican Bay, and they were comparing all these high rises, different spacing. So I did this chart, you know, it starts down like Port Royal area and it moves all the way north up to like maybe Vanderbilt Beach, maybe a little bit north of there, and then it starts back, and it does it every 6 months. So I tracked that, and then they started calling me Copernicus. Because I had the position of the sun and all, and so they wanted to know how many nights of sunset. This is the kind of stuff you get into now.
And that's how when I got my license, I had to know all that stuff.
So anyhow, it's a high rise. The stacks all face a little different. One faces this way, one faces that way. I want to know what's the maximum sunset. Oh, okay, south or southwest facing. So the point is that for your particular analysis, you got to pick out half a dozen things and adjust them. And if you get way overcomplicated and make too many adjustments, you'll like drive yourself back up.
Could I share something, a couple of things, Jeff, with them? And then guys, take a picture. This is what I recommend. These are just some other things that I utilize in MLS. Remember earlier, we were already adjusting when we were doing the search earlier, it's the same concept, same thing. So this is kind of something I've used in the past, and pretty much every time I do a CMA, that kind of helps me outside of the automated evaluation. It's funny. I want the same level of energy when I talk about bold in a few minutes, okay?
The whole squad.
Yeah, so this is something else I try to use to, again, maybe try to narrow down some properties, especially in a world where maybe there is a lot of properties. And I would say I'm probably in order here at the beginning of what I start with, and then kind of hit or miss here. But essentially, I usually go plus or minus 10 years from the house, the year of the subject property. So it was built in 1990. I'll typically start 1980 to 2000 and kind of look at that as my range of homes I compare to. Is it exact science? No.
An appraiser calls that effective age. And they will adjust like $1,000 or $2,000 if the home is, if this home is 10 years different, if they might put a few thousand.
Water heater,
No,
all those things start factoring in with the age of the house.
hang tight. Yeah, well, hang tight to all that.
Effective age, and appraisers will usually give it $1,000 or $2,000 a year. If there's
The mechanicals,
correct, air conditioning, roof,
plumbing,
all that stuff, where it has wear and tear.
So everything they just said would be here on this last bucket. So hear me out then here. So, and then I usually go plus or minus 200 on the square footage. So it's a 1,500 square foot home, I go 1,300 to 1,700. That's where I'm going to start my range. I'm not looking at homes outside of that typically. This is where I start, and if I don't have homes, then I remove some of these criteria to start getting some homes inside.
An appraiser within 100 square feet will make no adjustment. Over that, appraiser will usually adjust by $100 a square foot, not 5,000, but they'll usually adjust by a small amount over 100 square feet.
A bigger home, it is worth more.
Yeah, but not,
Sorry.
no, I'm saying,
Okay.
oh, it's $600 a square foot and it's 3,000 square foot. Oh, that's 180,000.
It's not gonna work that way. Then I do my construction type, concrete, wood, so forth. Then I go pool, yes or no. Sometimes I have to leave it open and not put anything there because maybe it just eliminates too many comps for me to consider. Garage, I typically keep it to plus or minus 1 garage. So if I'm looking at single car garage home, then I'm really looking at 0 to 2 car garage homes in my comparison. Then I look at lot sizes. So for a regular standard quarter acre lot, let's say Golden Gate City, I usually go 0.30 and down. Again, if I need to, what I do is I start at the top and work my way down the list. Generally speaking, I look for under like 5 homes. So when the list gets down to where I'm like, oh my God, I'm under at 5 homes or less, then I kind of stop and then I just go one by one and analyze these properties to see is it a comparison or not. Generally, distance I start 1 mile radius or in the same subdivision. If I'm now comparing other subdivisions, now you got to start making sure you're keeping in mind amenities. You know, I have golf course community versus a non. It's the big difference. You can't compare them. Then I may get into bedrooms. I usually don't have to, because generally what I find out by then is they're all very much the same. Then I look at single story or 2-story, but not both. I'm not comparing both. Golf access, yes or no. Obviously, that's going to change value quite a bit. And then other adjustments are kind of, if I have an equal home, but one has a totally equivalent, apples to apples, but then one has a whole brand new roof just replaced a month ago, and one is out of date. Yeah, there might be an adjustment that obviously doesn't need to be made there, and you could probably say, I think I wrote in there, roof, AC, water heater, flooring, updates. This is kind of how I start to narrow down my
Okay,
list.
so, and then you can go and put a value on that. Maybe you put 2,000 on the year, maybe I put $100 a square foot on the difference. Construction type, I don't too much adjust for that, but insurance wise, it might make a difference.
Yeah.
Pool, 20,000, that's it. That's all an appraiser is going to give you. It doesn't matter whether it's a resort pool with slides and diving boards, same amount.
For this one, the reason I like to look at this one, just one point there, is because all the things equal, generally speaking, there is a value difference in the concrete.
The block home will be cheaper to insure.
And that's it.
But I mean, it's subject better add. If your subject is better than the comparable, you add. If the comparable is better, subtract. Write down those 3. Those are the 2 things you have. And you can then go through, like, if this is $100 a square foot, and this is 20,000, and a 3-car garage, maybe 5,000-6,000. 1-car garage, 2-car garage. The size of the lot can vary. So these are all things that when I did this, I took the ones that were similar in every respect that I could.
What about half a bathroom? What would that adjust?
I use 500, but again, it
So
doesn't
I'm not-
matter.
No exact number.
It doesn't matter. If I use 500 across the board and I don't go 5,000 or 10,000 for a bathroom, so I get these huge differences. If you use a small adjustment, you'll see at the end, these things came out tight, right? And if they aren't coming out tight, if your range is this big when you're done with the adjustments, go back and review your adjustments and prioritize them a little bit, because all these adjustments should do is tighten that range down to a small range.
And a 2-story to a 1-story?
I say,
I
no,
don't compare them.
the property appraiser, when they appraise it, gives a second story 70% of the value of the first floor. So if you had to use it, 30% less for this upper square footage. But that's the property appraiser. So, I mean, it's obviously to add a second floor, you know, a lot of times it's just a matter of some decking and wood frame and close it in and stucco. So I don't like to use 2-story versus 1-story.
I don't either.
Okay.
Roof type or age of the roof?
You can't tell the age of the roof from the MLS. You can look at the permit, you can go into the
You're gonna
property.
be doing that in a CMA, you're rarely gonna call somebody and say, hey, when was your roof done? So I can figure out a value.
You can go into the property appraiser's office, remember when we looked, and look at the permit history and see if there's a roof. But don't drive yourself crazy. Try to pick out 4 or 5 things, pick your search, do your adjustments, and you should come out you should come out in a tight range if you do it right.
If you try to adjust for roof, the floor type, the pitch and color, the AC age versus the water heater age, you're gonna drive yourself nuts.
But the roof is so expensive compared to everything.
So all other things equal, everything else equal, we gotta narrow it down, and now we gotta figure out the roof to, age of the roof, then yeah, there's gonna be a small adjustment, but if it's cost 50 grand, I don't know what it is.
Part of the-
We'll make an adjustment for that.
Part of the
Not
year
for
bill,
grand.
part of the year built and effective age, $2,000 a year. So if it's a 10-year difference, there's 20,000 right there. That's not a roof, but it's part of a roof. So be careful if you're adjusting for effective age, right?
Let
All
me
right, see, I made an adjustment of $2,000 a year for that 1982 wood frame house versus my 2001 concrete block house. I said, subject better ed.
One thing too that I've seen in the past that I've had to do, like a lot of times, okay, maybe this house had 100 square foot more. And maybe an extra, or let's say, no, forget the 100 square foot, it's got a 2-car garage, it's a 1-car garage home. But then the one that's a 1-car garage home has an extra bedroom than the one that's a 2-car. I'm like, well, it's not really much of an adjustment.
But
It ends up being almost.
if you're using the same number, it will adjust out exactly the same. Okay, so there, flooring. I thought that flooring might be a factor, if the all over vinyl floor was better than carpet and laminate. Again, that's a subjective adjustment that I thought that one house had. That the house that we had was better than an all vinyl. All right, so again, we went through and we adjusted all these things, side by side adjustments, right? And when we got all done, we get an adjusted page. I always throw these things in, but you don't have to. But when you got all done, we were 380 to 395, right? Always give your seller a range. Never say, I think it's 387.5. Always use an adjustment. You can see that these adjusted prices, right, were fairly similar when we went over. And they sold it in one day for $420. But that was not because of the quality of my CMA, but because they had the right couple come drive along and say, this house is 1 mile from Publix and it has a place for our motorhome and all that good stuff. That was it. But remember, what we got out of the adjustments was a fairly tight range. And then what I did was I went in lower than that 419. That was their decision to go up above. And it worked. Okay. I think you always want to be conservative in that range. You might want to start a little lower than you become, and you might want to go up, you know, maybe to the middle, but you definitely don't want to say it's worth between 380 and 480. That's not going to help your buyer. Okay? So that's what the report looks like. And to your point, let's see what we can do about going into MLS and doing that, right? Everybody okay with that?
Now it's value double that.
Pardon?
Now that house is value double that
Maybe.
Showing that.
I would say 650, 699, but not double. Okay, so let's go to the dashboard. All right, and let's do a search. And let's do one. First, there's enough to drive you crazy. There we go, and we're going to do single family homes. And we're going to do 3-bedroom. So let's do 3-bedroom. Let's do so all we're doing and do, oops, 2. So now you see what I can do? I can put 2 plus, that means 2 or more spaces, right? And I can do private pool, yes. Not getting anything. 0 matches.
Take away the 3 bedrooms and see if we're getting anything.
Let's do,
amount.
now I can do more. Maybe I have to go to something. Don't like getting anything, wow.
Try to do 4 bedrooms, but I think that, I mean.
Maybe that.
Yeah, keep going bigger, add more.
Let's do a year. Still only getting 3. So I guess what I'm saying is, I just happen to pick this at random, all right? And we have, I could probably have gone a bigger square footage, so we go back to criteria and say, let's go 20. Didn't get us anything. 2,000 to 3,000. All right, we still got 3. All right, but anyhow, you can play around with your search. It doesn't really matter as long as you get some results.
I think there's a point that you're proving there's just a few criteria and already narrowed it down too much, so that's why we would never make it through everything that's on that board that I wrote. You pick a, a handful, start it and narrow it down to under 5, and then start doing an apples to apples comparison of the property.
All right, so the point is that now I can say, okay, let's assume that these are all comps, right? So I can go in and select them. Come on. There's 2 things I can do now. I can do what's called a quick CMA, which is a quick report that I always run to start my CMA, right? and it's gonna produce a report. Hopefully in our lifetime. Anyhow, do the quick CMA because the quick CMA will just give you an overview of what's going on.
I think it's something that downloaded. Try going to download.
I think it's already done it.
It's under downloads, that blue arrow. on the
Right
side.
here?
Yep. And then click on that.
There you go, beautiful. All right, so if you put your branding in, right, you have, this is something you might take with you on your first listing appointment because you might want to adjust it. But you see what we did there? We got a listings, we got sold properties, and we got a pending property, okay? So that just gave us all the information that you were asking for, right? What do we have? We have sales per square foot, we have the list price, we have the sell price, original price, all of that stuff is sitting on that one page. So it's a good little report. Thanks for the help on the little arrow there. All right, so all right, so now I want to go ahead and do a regular CMA. So I can click on that and that will take me into the, and I can do a description. What I can do now is I can go and pick out the pages that I want. Okay, these are the pages that I use. You can use, there's cover pages without photos. There's subject adjustments. You can add all of these things in, but this is the page I use. Subject property. I can put the MLS number in of the subject property. I can fill it from the tax ID. Okay. Here's what I want my cover to look like. Here's my comparables that I just pulled in, right? Here's my map of the properties. Okay. Here's the adjustments. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about adjustments. You can do these adjustments across the board, or you can view them in detail mode, which will compare your subject property to feature by feature by feature. Now, you can go back in if you like and add a field like updating, all that. You can add that, you know, before you start your comparable analysis. All right. And that's a function of your adjustment details. Then you get your pricing, right? There's your pricing report. Here's you type this in, any additional comments, and finish. And there's your report. You can view it, you can email it. Obviously, we didn't do a lot of stuff in here, but you can see the process of how you would do it.
I saw at the bottom, it says where you can add in a document if you wanted, so in the case where you had to go get the appraisal first, you could upload that in there, right?
Mm-hmm. I would always get a picture of the property. You can use Google Earth. There you go. And there's my report, okay? Obviously, it's not completed, but you see how we were able to pick the comps. Maybe you pick 6 comps and you only include 3 or 4. But you can, and then you can go in and do your adjustments, all right? And you can add fields to your CMA by going down to the bottom of your where do you, Jordas, I know there's a way to go and add fields.
Pages or just.
Go down with your cursor. You were on the right page, sir. Go back.
On the right hand side. Right there.
Gonna add pages.
No, what I want to do is add features. Like I want to add a feature called updating. I'm trying to remember where.
Whatever your last page was, I saw the hyperlink.
I think it's subject or you were.
No, it's there. Well, I'll figure out, there's a way if you say, well, I want to add updating in there, that's not a standard field. You can add a field in to suit your CMA.
We're wrapping up, guys. I know we're over on time right now.
Okay, so we're at the end of here. I know there's a way to go in and add fields in here, and I just don't have it off the top of my head. But you can, if you want to add a field for updating or roof age or whatever, you can do that.
We have a question about the contact. Do we, about when we're at the very beginning, when we're gonna start our CMA, where it says add contact, is that the moment to add
Well, you can add the contact, your contacts are become part of your MLS here.
Oh,
And they should be in there, but you can add one on the fly if you want to.
There, yeah, we have them.
You guys give me 3 minutes, I promise I can chat in less than 3 minutes. Just give me 3 minutes, one second, so.
So, and then that CMA is gonna be stored in your My CMAs. So you can go back and pull that same one up and adjust it and play with it. It's 12 o'clock. Did we do okay?
Great.
All right. It's not an easy topic, but what you want to understand is it's simply a vehicle for you to try to identify the best comps, adjust them, and come up with a price range for your customer. But I think the key that Jordas pointed out is make sure you do your search so that you don't get properties that are all over the map.
What was the question?
Yeah, it is possible to make some more listing to.
You guys can do this unlimited amount of times. You're gonna have to get comfortable with having to do one. So. If you guys want, I can give you an address, I think for fun. I'm gonna write an address on the wall, and then for fun, I would love to see you guys do a CMA for it. Bring it to me. I'm gonna give you guys an address.
Oh.
Anybody who gives me a CMA that I'm happy with, I'll list with you.
Is that your house?
Yeah. Always like to know what people think of the value. So there's your address, and if you guys want, you can email me the CMA, you can bring it to class next time, I'll take a look at it. So that's your first one to practice on. 2226 Santiago Avenue, Fort Myers, 33905. Have fun with it.
Wait, what is that? Oh, you don't do account for
And
that.
I'll figure out how to add a field to the CMA comparisons by Thursday, but you know, what we tried to do today was to put perspective into the fact that just the CMA itself is not a seller presentation. It's only a small portion of it. What you gather in building your relationship with your seller before you even get to the CMA is where all the important parts of your relationship are.
Gotcha. All right, give Jeff a hand, guys. All right.
On Thursday?
Yeah, the listing presentation. These are all forms you have to generate, but the listing presentation is what we're gonna talk about on Thursday. Real fast, I wanna commit to the 3 minutes and you guys are out of here. I opened up the class with who's going to Bold. I gave out one sheet to people. I think I already have, like, you're committed to Bold. Are you in Bold? I can't remember. You are, right?
I gave my sheet to Eric.
Okay, so we'll get you all set up. You're in it.
It's coming in October.
It's coming in October. So here's what I want to tell you. I want to sell you on Bold. You should be there. Money is not going to be a factor. We will find a win-win, but I at least need you guys to at least come to step one. If you're not sure yet, at least come to step one. So put this in your calendar. I'm going to give you the form, and I want the form back with your name, your phone number, your email address. Don't give me your card information if you're not sold on it yet. You will be later, but just know that if you don't register before Bold starts, the reimbursement program goes from 2 houses. Like right now, if you haven't signed up right now, you need to sell 2 houses when in the program to get your reimbursement back. So we're reimbursing the agents when they do business while taking it. If you wait till Bold starts, then it's going to go to, I believe it's 3 or 4 houses you have to sell during that Bold time period of the course. To get that reimbursement back. So we're asking essentially put a little skin in the game, but we believe in it so much that as long as you show up and do the work, you will get into production. And when you do that, we give you a reimbursement for the program.
And what's the average number of
So
transactions?
the average number of transaction, I believe for this coach is 11 deals, if I remember correctly, for Kimberly, is what the average amount of deals are per agent in the program. That's what her numbers are because they track it. The program is going to be focused on mindset, 90% of the courses on that, 10% on skill. There's no reason not to be there, guys. If you're not hitting a goal that you desire to hit, if you're not there yet, there's no reason not to be in the room. The only reason to not be in the room, or the only reason people give me, are either money reasons or time reason. It's once a week on Thursdays from 9 to 2:30. And 9 to 2:30, what's that, The Price is Right, you can DVR it and watch it later, and if you guys are watching The Price is Right at that time, you know what I'm talking about, there's some of us that are doing that. 9 to 2:30 of one Thursday for 7 weeks, so what I'm gonna do is pass the form around for those that don't have it. If you're fully committed already, you don't need to hear more, you can fully pull it out. If you're not sure, but you will at least be at step one, I'll register you myself for step one. You'll get a confirmation email says that, hey, you're good to go for step one. It is free, step one, so you at least be there for that. You don't have a form, I'm gonna give it to you. Questions on it?
The only thing I have to say is,
You already said.
Money-
You already said.
do not let money be a factor.
Money will not be a factor.
There's scholarships, there's sponsorships. If it's the money, don't worry about it. We can take care of that for you. And you're gonna earn enough money to probably pay it back anyway.
Okay.
Erica probably still.
I did it last week.
Yeah, probably still registering it, you all. If you already gave Erica the form, you don't need to do it again, but if you haven't, get it to me, and at least I'll get you set up for step
I
one.
already got charged.
All right, guys,
All right?
you're all done, we're good, stop recording. Thank you.
Thank you.